match up with these teams as well. Now they have one of the best coaches to do it, and Tom Izzo kind of helping them, but it's just a team I can't fully get behind, Femi, because even though you got to be impressed by all the wins that they're getting with not having a great shooting team, I still think, in the tournament, like especially in those first two games, they're going to run into a team that's hitting shots. And it's that game. Can Michigan State win a game in the 80s? I don't know. To me, St. John's and Michigan State are very similar teams. Both have Hall of Fame head coaches. Both are terrific on defense, but both struggle to shoot the ball. I think the reason we all like St. John's a little better is because Pitino's probably a little better than Izzo. Their defense is a little better than Michigan State. And I think they have more scorers that can go get one-on-one buckets, that can score in the half court than Michigan State can. So the teams are very similar. Like St. John's and Michigan State to me are very similar. They're both going to play teams. There's going to be a game where they're going to have to score. And that's my concern with Houston. And those were my concern with those Tony Bennett, Virginia teams. Like when you play these teams that can score and you go cold from the field, can you win those games?
Yeah, and that would be a scary proposition for Michigan State there, because like sometimes you run into that team that they're just going to shoot like 55% from three that day, and like at that point, what do you do? And can Michigan State get out of that? And like to your point, Oregon, I watched a lot of that game because I was very invested in Oregon, not just to win the game. I had Oregon money line, but I also had Oregon 30-1 to win the Big Ten tournament. So clearly, I was rooting for the Ducks. Missed a lot of open jumpers. Like they missed a lot of open jumpers, and maybe you can credit like the Michigan State defense to some of that, but. I mean, sometimes an open look is an open look, and if guys are clanking it, hey, like it's just not going to matter. You're going to be able to coast to a victory like they did in the second half. But yeah, if Oregon knocks down those jump shots, like maybe it's Oregon that actually wins because Michigan State might not be able to keep up scoring wise, which today wasn't an issue, but might be an issue next week or beyond if they're able to get to the second weekend. So Sparty moves on in the Big Ten tournament. They're in the semifinals tomorrow afternoon. They'll take on the winner of Wisconsin and UCLA. And PJ. On Wisconsin, buddy. We are both on the Badgers. I have Badgers first half. You have Badgers full game. They lead 46-29 in the final minute of the first half against UCLA. Man, they look great. And you talk about open jumpers. They're getting open jumpers, and they're making all of them. Wisconsin has been unreal from beyond the arc in this game, shooting at an insane clip. And if you're going to shoot at that clip and be like at a 70% sort of rate here, right now they're shooting 66.7%. It's hard to lose games when that's what you're getting from beyond the arc.
Yeah, so when I see something like this, Femi, when I see a team that shoots the ball as good as Wisconsin shooting it right now, and they have 48 points against a really good defensive team in UCLA, my mind automatically goes to Wisconsin team total under in the second half, right? Because like they can't continue that, and especially if they're up 19. And if they continue to like build out this lead and we don't get that foul game towards the end, then that should be able to go in under that number. But like they're 12 for 19 from deep. They're 16 for 26 from the field. If that continues and I lose my bet, so be it. But I think I'm going to take under 82.5 team total for Wisconsin for the game. So we need 34 points. Can UCLA hold Wisconsin to 34 fewer second half points? I think they can. The fact that they scored 48 and shot the ball like they did, again, if we get free throws at the end, it could be a little dicey. But, Femi, I'm going to fire away a live bet here on the show. We're going with some Wisconsin team total under.
We absolutely love that.
82.5. What do you think?
So,
you like the thought
under
process?
82.5. Well, I was curious, though, because I know we were talking during the break that you were kind of contemplating whether you wanted to bet UCLA in the second half. Is that something that you're going to add on as well, or are you just going to look to try to middle this by betting the team total under? Because that's another route to do it as well. But, I mean, you're sitting with a pretty good ticket right now, laying that, because did you lay, 1.5, whatever it is? Like, they're up by 19 points. You're in a really good spot. Like, any consideration to the Bruins in the second half to try to shoot for the middle, or is it just let's fade Wisconsin's hot shooting from the first half?
Yeah, I think it's let's fade Wisconsin's hot shoot. I mean, UCLA is 16.5 right now. So that is an intriguing number. Again,
big number, man.
And when it's a game like this, Femi, where the spread was 1.5 to start, right? Like, it's rare that these games, especially this time of year, are this big a blowout, So it is intriguing to see like a 15.5, 16.5 there. I kind of like that, but I think the play again is just Wisconsin team total under. Mick Cronin's chewing his guys out right now. I think the defense is going to be much better. again, if Wisconsin, if they continue this shooting, you just got to tip the cap and, shake their hand. Congratulations. But I think the play, would either be to take UCLA plus the points right now, plus 16.5 if you shop around, or the Wisconsin team total under. I think it's a good look as well.
All right, so PJ going Wisconsin team total under. I will just sit there and count my winnings with Wisconsin in the first half. Sleepy start for UCLA, West Coast team, like an 11:30 a.m. tip on the West Coast, pretty much for them. So it was a nice victory to get Wisconsin home. But let's keep the good times rolling, PJ. The SEC tournament game, Texas-Tennessee, set to tip off at 3:44, so in about 10 minutes. And we've seen some Texas money actually hit the market here as we're approaching close. Tennessee is now down to a 9.5-point favorite. This was 10 across the board earlier this morning, and the total sits at 137.5. Anything for you side total in the second quarterfinal game? Winner of this one will face Auburn in tomorrow's semifinal.
I like Texas, Femi. You see a team like this every year in the SEC that it feels like played on the first day. They win a couple games and they're getting hot. And, this game reminds me so much of Purdue and USC from last night, right? USC was coming off a double overtime game against Rutgers. And I think a lot of people looked at the large point spread at 10.5 and they said, man, USC is going to be gassed. Purdue is playing their first game. Like, their offense is so good. It's going to be a tough game. And USC was the right side of the entire game. I don't think Purdue had a lead more than like 6 points the entire night. And that was Matt Painter in March, a guy we love to fade this time of the year. And now here we are, we're going with Rick Barnes, laying this many points. Yeah. So again, Texas played a 2 overtime game last night, extremely physical against Texas A&M. I can see the case to be made for Tennessee, but Femi, the dogs have been barking in the SEC tournament. I feel like if you're giving us this many points, we've talked about the depth in this league all season, and you're seeing it in this tournament and why the underdogs have been so good so far in Nashville. So I think you keep riding the dogs. You ride one of the hottest dogs in the tournament right now in Texas, who's gotten you 2 outright winners. So I like them tonight, plus the 9.5.
Our BetMGM Network teammate Brad Evans was on with us yesterday during the NBC Sports Now Power Hour, and he said that Texas was already in the tournament. I'm looking at around some of the other bracketologists, because Brad is a bracketologist. He has his website, The Gaming Juice, where he's been updating this stuff like every 15 minutes, essentially. But I know some other bracketologists have Texas barely in the tournament. So from a motivational standpoint, like, Texas actually needs this game, and if they win this game, you would have to believe that they are in the NCAA tournament. I'm with PJ. Hook 'em horns. I took 10 this morning. I also sprinkled a little bit of money line as well. Every year we get one of these power conference teams that goes on an improbable run throughout their conference tournament. I'm not 100% sure that it's Texas, but I'm not 100% sure that it's not Texas either. So I'm playing on the variance. Give me Texas plus the points and a little on the money line to go out there and stun the Tennessee Volunteers. We'll get to last night's betting recap from around college hoops on the other side. To wrap up the hour, this is You Better You Bet, Femi Bet Faye, PJ Glasser.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this: if something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month, with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
At Uline, they know firsthand the road to success is an uphill climb. Uline started in the family basement, and through hard work is now North America's most trusted shipping and industrial supplier. They get what it means to have the support of reliable, hardworking partners, so they keep 41,000 items ready to ship. Whether your company is still in a basement office or expanding cross-country, Uline will be there on your road to success. Visit uline.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, millions of men experience ED, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. At HIMSS, our own board-certified urologist, Dr. Peter Stahl, knows this better than anyone, and he knows that HIMSS can help.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, Senior Vice President of Men's Sexual Health at HIMSS. I've helped many guys with ED, and it has never been more convenient to treat than it is right now, thanks to HIMSS.
Through Hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs. Options at up to 95% less than the brand names when you get started at Hims.com/joy. To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% less than brand name prices, go to Hims.com/joy. That's Hims.com/joy for your free online visit.
College basketball comes alive on BetMGM tonight.
Shania Broom to win that coveted award. It's plus money again. If I had a vote, would be on the best player on the best team in college basketball, bar none in my mind. That is the Auburn Tigers, and bar none in my mind, that is Shania Broom.
Brad Evans and Ryan Horvath are scoring on the hardwood.
We got to prepare you for the NCAA tournament, baby. St. John's, you want to talk about marvelous. They were simply marvelous. Only 3 quarter-1 wins, however, this year. It doesn't matter. You do not want to see St. John's in your region, period, end of story, because Rick Pitino is the greatest basketball mind alive. Disagree with me? Fight me.
Turn up your Odyssey app and join Brad Evans and Ryan Horvath on BetMGM tonight as they light up the court with bets and live reactions. Presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Brad Evans and Ryan Horvath are jumping into the DeLorean.
Flash forward to the future. Wisconsin to make the Final Four is plus 650. That number is a little bit too high still. They're well coached, and they're number 1 in the nation in free throw percentage. I just like everything Wisconsin is doing right now.
To find the best future prices.
But I think the value pick at 4-1 or better is the Bears. I know they're probably going to be the flashy, trendy team. The offensive line's revamped. You know, Caleb is going to be under center more. I think Ben Johnson's going to have him in rhythm, on time. Honestly, I think at pick 10, I think they take Genty. I really like what they did this offseason.
Beat the market on BetMGM tonight with Brad Evans and Ryan Horvath every weekday from 7 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Check out Bet Sweats with Joe Ostrowski and Sam Paniatovich. Weekdays 9 to noon Eastern on the BetMGM network.
The problem last year with Carolina is that they gave up 534 points. That ain't going to cut it, brother. 534 divided by 17, they were giving up 30 points a game. 31.4 points per game. If they can fix that and shore some of that up, and the offense takes another step, could you be convinced to go over on Carolina this year? Let's say the number 6.5.
Okay, that's something that I can wrap my brain around much more than where I thought you were going to go. I thought you were going to go with winning the division. Don't think the perception on Carolina is accurate. They're not as bad as some of the numbers or what their record was showing a year ago, assuming that they're going to be much healthier.
Bet Sweats, 9 to noon Eastern on the BetMGM network. America's home for wagertainment. BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app today. Please gamble responsibly.
Let's get back to You Better You Bet on the BetMGM network.
Let's keep the good times rolling here on a Friday on You Better You Bet on the BetMGM network. Femi Abebefe, PJ Glasser in for Nick Costos. Nick will be on Sunday's edition of You Better You Bet's Countdown to Tip-Off, celebrating Selection Sunday. You'll want to tune in for that 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Nick Costos, Brad Evans, right as the brackets are released. Moments after that, they will break down all the first-round games from a point spread perspective, region bets, because we'll get all those bets as well for to win the region, make the Final Four, to make the Sweet 16. There's so many markets to break down on Selection Sunday. Nick and Brad will have you covered right here on the BetMGM network. But PJ, while we were in the break, we saw the American Athletic quarterfinal go final between Memphis and Wichita State. Memphis hangs on to win 83-80. Shockers get there at the window. They got bet all throughout the day. Like, this was like 10, I believe, on the openers last night. They got down to like 9.5. It closed 8.5, and it was very much the right side as Wichita State. They fall within the number, only losing by 3. So Memphis advances, but Wichita State gets to the window. Once again, we are at halftime between Wisconsin and UCLA. Wisconsin just dominating the Bruins, able to shoot the ball really, really well, 66% from three-point range. They are up 48-29 at halftime against UCLA. If you missed it in the last segment, both PJ and I are riding with the Longhorns. Hook 'em horns. PJ, what number did you get? I took 10, and I also took some money line at plus 425 there to sprinkle a little bit, not to go too crazy. But what did you end up getting? 10, or you still like it at 9.5, which is the current number as we're about a couple of minutes away from tip off?
Yeah, I got 10.5. So
there we go.
Yeah, I got the hook there, which could be key. I still like it at 9.5 though. And I like the money line sprinkle, Femi. I think Texas State, they could win this game. Really do think so.
There you go. Tyler Morales also on 10.5 as well with the Texas Longhorns. So hook 'em horns. I don't know if they're going to be the team, but they might be that team because every year it feels like we get one of these power conference teams that is like a double-digit seed in the conference tournament, but they make their way to like at least the semifinal or maybe even the championship game. So hoping that it's the Texas Longhorns who had to go through double OT. I was on Texas yesterday, PJ. Like we're doing it during the show, just absolutely tilting. This thing goes to overtime, goes to another overtime. I had 6.5. I didn't have any money line. I should have bet some money line. But I just had the 6.5. I'm just like seeing the visions of underdog goes to die in OT. But the underdog did not die. The dog was barking loud down in Nashville, as it has been across the board with these games, as PJ mentioned earlier this hour. Underdog has been very, very profitable. So let's hope that is the case this afternoon as Texas is getting set to take on their old coach, Rick Barnes, and the Tennessee Volunteers. But speaking of last night, PJ, as we have a little bit of a lull in the moment here with some of this afternoon action, how about Kentucky, Oklahoma? Like that game in the SEC tournament. Like Kentucky wins 85-84. They were up 10 with about a minute 20 left to go. I took the 7 with OU, and I didn't watch the game. Like full disclosure, I watched the highlights like earlier this morning. It was way too late. The game's tipped off like 90 minutes after it was supposed to tip off because we had the double OT between Texas and A&M. But like watching the game back this morning, I mean, my gosh, like I almost feel a little bit fortunate that OU covered, but then you look at how it played out in that final minute. Maybe OU should have won the game with all the mistakes that Kentucky was making, but Kentucky, they're able to win it with a basket with 0.5 seconds to go to hold on to beat Oklahoma and march into the quarterfinals. They'll take on the Alabama Crimson Tide, but man, a hell of a game last night as March continues to roll on and Kentucky rolls on, holding off OU.
Femi, it was crazy. Like you said, Oklahoma was pretty much the right side the whole night, and then in about the last 5 minutes, Kentucky started to pull away a little bit. And then it was one of those games, they were down 12 with like a minute and a half, 2 minutes left, and you're like, I can't believe we're not even going to cover. It was a 5-point game the whole, and then they just hit a 3, and they got a steal. Kentucky was missing some free throws, and it was just one of those crazy ends to a hoops game. I was telling you off air, I went to look at the live line, Femi, at one point. Oklahoma was 40-1 on the money line. Can you imagine 40-1 on the money line? You're up 1.
Oh my gosh.
5 seconds left, and then OA comes down and breaks your heart. So, it was an awesome game. And just the fact that, again, like Kentucky's playing, there's no team in college basketball that has a better turnout year after year to their conference tournament than Kentucky and Big Blue Nation. It's unbelievable how well they travel, especially there in Nashville. So awesome game and just a crusher for Oklahoma, because they're one of those teams that's squarely on the bubble. And obviously Texas is getting an opportunity to play today, a team you're battling with. So really tough loss for the Sooners. We'll see if the committee ends up putting them in. But that was one of those where it looks like they were going to lose, and then it looks like they're going to win, and then it's just like an absolute crushing loss.
Yeah, I think they're in. Like, that would be my best guess today, is that they're in the tournament. The win over Georgia is a really big win because Georgia's comfortably in the field, and they beat Georgia in that first round of the SEC tournament. So, like, that's another quad 1 win for them and another quality opponent that they beat. So my guess is that they're still into the tournament. But, man, like you said, if Texas is able to somehow like be a bid stealer or continue to win and keep that momentum rolling, it can get real uncomfortable on Selection Sunday. Like, just because you're in right now doesn't mean things can't change tonight and then tomorrow and then on Sunday as well, with some potential bid stealers out there looming as we wrap up these conference tournaments. So OU probably like comfortably in right now, but let's see what happens over these next 2.5 days before the bracket is released Sunday evening. So OU loses to Kentucky. Kentucky marches on. They'll take on Alabama in the nightcap of the SEC tournament. But we also saw in the Big Ten tournament yesterday, Illinois defeat Iowa 106-94. Little did we know this would be the final game for Iowa head coach Fran McCaffery, who earlier this afternoon fired by the University of Iowa after 15 years as the head coach of the Hawkeyes. And I guess funny enough, and I guess maybe it's ironic that in his final game, he gets ejected from the game for the technical fouls, as Fran McCaffery, very hot yesterday, as I was hot as well, as someone who backed Iowa in the contest. But unfortunately for Fran McCaffery, no longer the head coach for the Iowa Hawkeyes. It's so interesting, PJ, that like you see some of these coaches, they come so synonymous with the program, and Fran McCaffery has definitely been synonymous with Iowa basketball and kind of how they play. I mean, he's the all-time wins leader in Iowa basketball history, but after a lackluster year where the team was barely above 500, the administration says no more of Fran McCaffery, as they're moving on after 15 seasons.
He's like the Cliff Kingsbury of college basketball coaches, Femi. The guy can coach offense, that we know. But, I mean, you ask him to try to get a stop. Good luck. You know, his defenses at Iowa, abysmal. Even that game last night against Illinois, Peyton Sanford was terrific. I mean, they were going up and down with the Illini. They just could not get a stop. And that's been the story. You know, his best chance to win it was when he had Garza, and then when he had that Keegan Murray team that won the Big Ten title, who ended up losing to Richmond. And when you couldn't do anything with those two teams, when you couldn't even get to the Sweet 16 with those two teams, McCaffery never got to the Sweet 16. I mean, you just, you know, at a certain point, like you said, even though he's won the most games of any Iowa head coach, you gotta move on. That's the reason the SEC has turned into the premier league in the sport, Femi. It's because of the coaching, man. I mean, You got Bruce Pearl, you got Nate Oates, you got Chris Beard, you got Todd Golden, you got all these guys that are just really, really good. And, you know, like you look at the ACC, and obviously they're going through their coaching cycle right now. Miami and Virginia have new coaches. NC State's getting ready to hire. Yep, they're getting ready. So, I mean, that's really what it is. Like, everybody wants to know why the SEC's gotten so good. Just look at the coaches that all these teams have. So that's the big difference between kind of the SEC right now and these other conferences.
And it's funny you say that, because I was actually thinking about that 2019 season, because I think somebody was talking about Zion Williamson on Twitter about the Pelicans, but like my mind went to, oh yeah, like remember when that Zion team with RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish at Duke and those guys, and that's Coach K, and then North Carolina was a 1 seed that year with Roy Williams, Virginia was a 1 seed with Tony Bennett. Like, none of those guys are coaching at those respective programs anymore. Like, Shire's doing an awesome job at Duke, and Duke has continued to be at their standard, but like North Carolina's on the bubble with Hubert Davis, and Virginia, I mean, like, goodness gracious, like this past season, it was horrendous after Tony Bennett kind of left them out there to dry when he left in September, right? Like a couple of months before the season started. So it's just like the ACC, and when you talk about the coaching, like Jim Larrañaga is no longer at Miami. Like, it's just not what it once was, which is why, like PJ mentioned, the conference is not great, and it's not the ACC that we grew up with, where the ACC was the preeminent conference in college basketball. That's now shifted down south to the conference where it just means more. But we still have the Big East, PJ. And last night at the Garden, Creighton, DePaul, what a game. Like that's a heck of a. I didn't have any bets in the game. I'm just sitting there watching it as a fan. Like, hell of a game. Like DePaul bettors, like they were on the right side, clearly taking the 12 and a half points. Goes all the way to double overtime. Creighton erases a 17-point deficit to win 85-81. If you had DePaul money line, if you're a DePaul fan, heartbreak city, as I think they should have actually won the game. But unfortunately for them, Creighton is moving on as DePaul gets bounced out in the Big East quarterfinal.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was probably the game of the night. I mean, Oklahoma, Kentucky probably had one of the crazier finishes. We obviously had buzzer beater yesterday. We had games that went to overtime, but the DePaul game, Demi, they had never won multiple games in the Big East tournament before, right? So the fact that they were trying to make history, they played such a good first half. Creighton could not buy a bucket, and for them to, you know, lose that game in the fashion that they lost, it was brutal. When Ashworth hit that three, and then he fouled out, right? You got the point guard out. Kalkbrenner had 4 fouls for all of overtime and double OT. They couldn't get that fifth on him. So that was really tough for DePaul. I ended up taking the Creighton team total over in the second half, so needed overtime to cash that. So I was glad the game went to OT, but I was certainly rooting for DePaul once we went to overtime. That would have been an awesome upset. It's funny, Femi, like we all root for upsets, you know, but now that we're here previewing these games, like UConn Creighton feels a little better than UConn DePaul does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you would have loved to seen the upset, but also like UConn Creighton should be really good tonight.
Yeah, and Friday night at the Big East tournament is always iconic. And like we have some great teams that are playing there. Like Marquette St. John's is a Patino Big East tournament semifinal in the Garden. Like what more could you ask for than something like that? So I think tonight's like the 2 semifinals games are going to be really, really fun in the Big East. Real quick in the Big 12, Arizona, they bounced Kansas last night, 88-77. I was on Kansas. I had the points with Kansas. They were never really within the game. Like I felt like Arizona always kept them sort of at arm's distance as the Wildcats move on. And Kansas, I guess, got to lick their wounds and head into the NCAA tournament probably as like a 7 or an 8 seed, PJ.
Zeke Mayo was awesome last night, Femi, but he's not going to shoot like he did last night. So Kansas, to me, looks probably like a fade in the first round. Certainly, if they win that game, I'm going to fade them in round 2.
Ooh, PJ wants no parts of the Jayhawks. This was
No
preseason
parts.
number 1. Preseason number 1. And now they're going to be like an 8 seed or a 7 seed on Selection Sunday. That does it for hour number 1. We'll take a break with college basketball and turn our attention to the National Football League to start the 4 o'clock hour here on You Better You Bet.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook.
Saving for retirement was tough enough for us.
Yes, and navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we take a disciplined approach with your investments.
Tell us more about that.
We take an active approach to money management, positioning your portfolio for opportunities we see ahead.
So all your clients get the same portfolio?
No, we tailor your portfolio to your individual goals and needs.
What about communication? We don't like being left in the dark.
We check in regularly to keep you informed on the markets and your portfolio.
Which means you'll help us stay on track.
Yes, our goal is your comfortable retirement. And as a fiduciary, we always put your interests first, because we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Sweats with Joe Ostrowski and Sam Panayotovich. Weekdays 9 to noon Eastern on the BetMGM Network.
I think the most fascinating move, though, is the Davante Adams to the Rams move, because they decided most offensive personnel decisions are predicated on what Sean McVay wants. So in one offseason, they go from Cooper Kupp, who was maybe on the wrong side of 30, to another 30-year-old receiver, Davante Adams. So this offense will have Stafford back, Kyron Williams, who is a touchdown machine in the backfield, and then you got Nakua, Davante Adams. They bring back Tutu Atwell and Higbee at tight end. Are they better on offense now? Maybe.
Bet Sweats, 9 to noon Eastern on the BetMGM Network. America's home for wagertainment. BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app today. Please gamble responsibly. Check out Bet Sweats with Joe Ostrowski and Sam Panayotovich. Weekdays 9 to noon Eastern on the BetMGM Network.
And there are 2 teams I freaking despise right now. One of them is the New York Knicks. They beat me on Tuesday. They beat me on Thursday. They cost me in 3 straight days. So they got me 3 days in a row. And you start to think to yourself, should I do it again? Should I do it in their next game? Tonight. And I don't want to, but it's hard. It's hard. When you peg it right, I mean, they should have covered Thursday, and I would have been clean. I wouldn't have even bet them Friday if I didn't bet them Thursday. So I'm in this Knicks pretzel.
Bet Sweats, 9 to noon Eastern on the BetMGM Network. America's home for wagertainment. BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app today. Please gamble responsibly. Beat the madness of March with the BetMGM Network.
You want to be the best at filling out your bracket? You need to start studying now.
I think it's just going to be Duke and Auburn at the end, and I need someone to talk me out of that opinion.
It's that time of year where you have a chance to be the smartest in the room. Join our insiders and expert guest analysis.
Clark Kellogg.
I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see any number 1 seeds in San Antonio.
With the great Jeff Goodman from the Field of 68, a BetMGM production.
Listen, there's no team that's tougher than the Houston Cougars.
Bears.
At Tom Crean.
There's Big Ten physicality, and then there's Michigan State.
I'm not going to say, hey, UConn could win it all, but that is a team still in the tournament that will be a tough out.
Get out of here. If you think the SEC deserves 3 number ones.
You can get Duke in a close game. You got to like your chances.
Live reacting to the upsets, the buzzer beaters.
Oh, my God, Michigan State in a half quarter. Game over.
My God, you got to be kidding me.
Make the BetMGM Network your home for the madness. Listen anywhere on the go with the Odyssey app or watch on YouTube. Get locked into You Better You Bet with Nick Costos and Femi Abebefe, 3 to 7 p.m. Eastern on the BetMGM Network.
I don't know if Sam Darnold is going to work out in Seattle. What we do know about the Seattle Seahawks, beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I would love for someone to disagree with me on this, the Seattle Seahawks were never winning big. They ever winning a Super Bowl with Geno Smith? Paying DK Metcalf? Isn't the point of professional sports, and really like anything you do in your career, but let's keep this to professional sports, isn't the point to win a Super Bowl if you're the coach or GM of a National Football League team? You ain't winning one with Geno Smith, so you move on. I kind of like what Seattle's done here. Recognizing we're never going to win with where we are now, let's try something different.
You Better You Bet, 3 to 7 p.m. Eastern from the BetMGM Network. Presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app today. Please gamble responsibly.
This is The Bet, WEEI, 850 AM, Boston. Part of the BetMGM Network. An Odyssey sports station and Boston's home for wagertainment. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Are you ready? Are you ready? It's time to laugh, to win, and to live the thrill of the action.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. What the hell's going on out here?
No idea what's going on, but I am excited.
Every pick, every play, every game-changing moment. This is You Better You Bet, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas on the BetMGM Network.
Welcome back. It is hour number 2 of You Better You Bet here on the BetMGM Network on a Friday, hanging out with you guys, celebrating the conference tournaments that are going on all throughout college basketball. Femi Abebefe hanging out with PJ Glasser. PJ doing an awesome job filling in for Nick Costos. Nick will be back on Sunday with You Better You Bet's countdown to tip-off as Nick Costos, Brad Evans break down the bracket upon being released 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. Nick and Brad breaking down the bracket, breaking down all the first-round games from a betting perspective, all the region bets that you can get in on. Make sure you tune into that on Sunday right after the brackets are released at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So Nick will be back on Sunday, and of course we will be in Vegas next week, Thursday and Friday, doing shows from the sportsbook at the Mandalay Bay on the Strip, sweating out all the games for 4 hours. The first round games Friday and on Thursday. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. We cannot wait for that because the tournament's the greatest. It's absolutely the greatest. But right now in college hoops, both PJ and I are on the Texas Longhorns. They trail 13-10 against Tennessee right now, but we're still early on in that game, about 6.5 minutes into the contest. And then the second half is underway. And boy, we were talking about this one during the break. Wisconsin, UCLA, the amount of fouls that we've seen in like the first 4 minutes of this game, both teams are going to be in the bonus with like 15 minutes to go or something like that. Like it's insane, but Wisconsin in control of the game, 57-38 at the first media timeout of the second half. PJ, how are you feeling about that game? Because I know you're on Wisconsin full game, but you have now faded Wisconsin, their team total. You bet that under after the Badgers shot 66% from beyond the arc in the first half.
Yeah, I'm feeling terrible, Femi, because this team can't guard without fouling. It's not ideal. We were hoping that the game would slow down. It would be a little more half
in the
court.
bonus.
They're already in the bonus, so it's just it's not great. And it looks like one of these games where Wisconsin's just going to hit every shot. It's almost like when Bama played Texas earlier this year in Austin, and they were just hitting all their shots the whole game. So looks like it's just going to be one of those nights for Wisconsin. So it's funny, Femi, like the Big Ten and the Big 12, we've had some high scoring games. Like the overs have been the play in those conferences. Meanwhile, the ACC, I mean, it's like the Missouri Valley. You can't put these totals low enough for them to go over the total. So yeah, Wisconsin, they're seeing a big rim right now. I'd love to see them shoot like this if they play Michigan State, because it looks like that's the matchup we're going to get tomorrow. So hope the Badgers keep some of this against Sparty, because if they do, Femi, I think I'll come right back with Wisconsin and bet them again tomorrow.
Yeah, but as you mentioned, though, in the last hour, though, like sometimes when we get these chalk games, it's going to set up for some great semifinals and maybe some great championship games as well. So Wisconsin, Michigan State, semifinal of the Big Ten tournament. Yes, that piques my interest greatly. Like, I am very much locked in on that game tomorrow afternoon if we indeed get that and UCLA doesn't have some sort of miraculous comeback in this second half. But we have a lot of college basketball that we're going to get to all throughout the show. We have Jim Root, the three-man weave, joining us 1 hour from now. Jim does a great job handicapping, covering college hoops. So we'll get his thoughts on the big games, including UNC and Duke. That's the big one in the ACC. Cooper Flagg unlikely to play after suffering the ankle injury yesterday in Duke's win over Georgia Tech. So we'll break down college hoops with Jim Root. We'll break down college hoops with Vaughn Dalzell, our NBC and Peacock teammate, at 6:20 Eastern time. Dayton and St. Joe's is on Peacock at 7:30 Eastern time. Vaughn's been on the pregame show for a lot of these college basketball games on Peacock all throughout the season. So we'll get his plays in that game, in addition to the Big Ten quarterfinal between Michigan and Purdue. So college basketball, we top of mind all throughout the show today, but we did want to spend some time on the National Football League. And as we were in the break, we just got some breaking news from NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero with the Cincinnati Bengals. Here's the tweet. It says that the Bengals have made significant progress on contract extensions with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and both deals could be finalized in the coming days, sources tell Tom Pelissero and Ian Rappaport. So, PJ, it looked like the Bengals were maybe going to only get Jamar Chase done, because Chase is probably going to get that massive $40 million contract, which is now the new bar for the highest paid non-QB after Myles Garrett signed his extension with the Cleveland Browns. But Higgins looks like he's right behind him there, and both guys might be staying, which, if you're Joe Burrow, you're a very happy camper after what could have been a disastrous offseason. Now it turns into an offseason where the Bengals are at least going to keep their core on offense.
I mean, this is what Joe wanted, right? He was going on all those shows during Super Bowl week, and he was pretty much pleading with his organization. Like, pay my guys. Pay my guys. This is a big offseason. I need Higgins back. I need Chase back. And it looks like from the reports that those two guys are going to be back. Again, with Cincinnati, it comes down to the defense. You know, Burrow, I mean, he was good enough to win MVP this last season. Chase was unbelievable. And when T. Higgins was healthy, he was terrific. I mean, he helped me win my fantasy championship game. So I love me some T. Higgins.
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, those two guys, when they're out there, that's arguably the best 1-2 punch at receiver in the NFL. But yeah, so if Cincinnati re-signs those guys, Femi, I mean, like, do they just draft defensive guys like the entire draft? Like, you just use all 8, 9 of your picks or whatever on defense, because you got to build up that side of the ball. So they know they have their quarterback. They know they got their receiver. And good for Cincinnati, you know, making it work as well, because we thought there was no way that they would be able to sign Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. We all thought Higgins would obviously be the odd man out and they would look to move him, but looks like they're going to bring all three guys back, and now they just got to figure out a way to play some defense, because if they get defense, Cincinnati, I think, is going to be the team that a lot of people thought they were going to be coming into this past season.
Yeah, right now over at BetMGM, the Bengals 16-1 to win the Super Bowl next season. And I'm curious to where you're at with the Bengals, PJ, because for me, like, they need to get the defense right, because like they had Chase, they had Higgins last year. They also missed the playoffs. So like they've not made any sort of improvements to the roster. They're just being stagnant. And if anything, you can make the argument that the Bengals are actually getting worse this offseason, because Sam Hubbard retired and they're in the works of trading Trey Hendrickson, the guy who led the league in sacks last year. So if you lose Hendrickson, your best pass rusher, you already lost your second best pass rusher in Sam Hubbard. Like, yeah, you made the change at defensive coordinator from Lou Anarumo to Al Golden, who came over from Notre Dame. But like where's the improvement here? Can it all be through the draft? Because they're not like they're picking in the top 10. They're picking like in the teens or whatever, like the highest pick for the teams that don't make the playoffs. Like, they don't have like that great of a draft pick. And this is a draft that a lot of people have said, once you get past the top 10, it's not very good to begin with. So I don't even know how many impact players on defense that they can find in this draft that will help them in 2025, to where I'm looking around at the Bengals. the more I think about them, the more I think I'm out on this team, PJ. Like, I don't think they're going to be able to fix the defense to the degree that is necessary for them to compete for a Super Bowl. I know you've watched this team a lot since they're in your division. You're a Baltimore Ravens fan, and Joe Burrow is as scary as it comes when he comes into your building. Like, he's the only guy that has been able to beat Mahomes in the playoffs. Allen can't do it. Lamar can't do it. But Burrow can't do it by himself with just the offense. They need a defense to do that as well, and it doesn't look like they really have a path to improving that side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally fair, and that'll be the key, right? I think also a key for Cincinnati, Femi, they got to start fast this season. Every year under Joe Burrow, this team is always 0-2, 1-4, right? And they dig themselves into a hole. So, I mean, they talk about it every year, starting fast, and then they never do. But now let's see if they re-sign Higgins and Chase and Burrow, and all these guys are healthy coming into the season. Zach Taylor's on the hot seat. You have a new defensive coordinator. The Ravens made the playoffs last year. The Steelers made the playoffs last year. The Browns are a team that, you always struggle with. So Cincinnati, I mean, they got to start fast, and they also got to be much better at home, Femi. They were not a good home team this past season either. They lost to New England. They lost to Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. Like, look, a lot of these teams are good. I mean, they made the playoffs, but, it's tough to win on the road in the NFL, and it felt like the Bengals were a much better road team than they were a home team. So got to win more games at home, and they got to get off to a faster start so they're not digging themselves in that big of a hole. Yeah. And then, like you said, they got to find ways to make it work on defense. It's great that you're going to have one of the best offenses in the NFL, but, I mean, with how tight they're going to be with the cap, Femi, they just got to nail their draft picks. I mean, they're putting a lot of stock into that. A lot like what your Cowboys are doing, obviously, paying all these guys. They got to make sure that they hit their picks in the draft.
Yeah, which is a great transition because that brings me to Cooper Kupp, the free agent wide receiver who was released by the Los Angeles Rams earlier this week. And PJ, my morning started today with an Adam Schefter tweet. ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter, who obviously is a kingmaker when it comes to breaking news. And he tweeted this morning, developing, which was always intriguing, a sleeper team that has emerged and is now making a push to sign former Rams free agent wide receiver Cooper Kupp is ... the Dallas Cowboys per league sources. Kupp's decision on where to sign could come as early as today, meaning today on this Friday. 1 hour, PJ, after that tweet. 1 hour. This is from Schefter. While the Cowboys made what one source described as, quote, a push for Cooper Kupp, they are still not considered the likely landing spot for the former Rams wide receiver per source. So we've also seen some other reporters out there that say that Cooper Kupp could be headed to the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks very much involved in this. Cooper Kupp is from the state of Washington. He's from Yakima, which is central Washington, about 90 minutes and 2 hours outside of Seattle. So, it's home for him to go to the Seattle Seahawks. He played at Eastern Washington University, so you would see the appeal there. But I just find it very funny that within 1 hour, PJ, the Cowboys go from being a dark horse for Cooper Kupp to, you know what, they're actually not likely going to be the landing spot for the former Super Bowl MVP. This is the offseason that my team has. It's nothing to kind of write home about, nothing to be excited about, and it looks like we're just headed towards being an 8-9, maybe 9-8 team at the absolute best.
It's crazy, Femi. It's just, I saw you guys sign Dante Fowler, so congratulations on that. You got the former Ram that you wanted. The former Ram that everybody wanted, Dante Fowler. Yeah, I mean, this just kind of sums up their offseason. Now, I know you're super down on Dallas this upcoming year. I know Nick is super down on Dallas as well. I'm kind of intrigued by them, though, with the win total. Because, Femi, in your lifetime, can you ever remember, expectations being this low for the Dallas Cowboys? This is a team that, it's Super Bowl or bust for them every single year. And it almost feels like for them this year, I think people would be happy if they just made the playoffs. And I can't remember a time when that's ever been the case with Dallas. So, I don't know. With a team like this that is so used to scrutiny and competing for championships every year. They're trying to compete for championships every year. We know they haven't been to a championship game in a long time. They're trying to compete for them. Their fan base certainly thinks they're good enough to do so, most of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just I'm always intrigued by teams like that. When the pressure's off and there's really no expectations and everybody's expecting you to suck. those Femi, usually things tend to go either two ways. Either everybody's right and they're going to be a disaster and a train wreck, or maybe they're a surprise and you're going to like fall in love with this team, you know? Because as fans, I think we all know that like our favorite teams that we've had over the years, whether it's your favorite baseball team, NFL team, are when it just comes out of nowhere, right? Like when you're expecting your team to be bad and then they just like win the division or they win 100 games or whatever it may be, they become the number 1 seed. So like those are the best years. And like, I don't think Dallas is giving me the vibes of like a team that's going to do that. But again, there's just so much negativity around this team that it almost, I feel like the market, Femi, is going to present an opportunity for us to take the over on Dallas in like the win total, especially because, as you know, with certain teams, you got to pay a tax, right? You got to pay the Laker tax.
Yeah.
You got to play the Alabama tax in football, like all these certain things. There's always that Cowboy tax. I don't think there's going to be that Cowboy tax this year. And to me, like that makes Dallas interesting a little bit in the market.
Yeah, I would guess that whatever the win total is, and my guess right now is that it's probably going to be like 7.5, maybe 8. I think about 8's probably the ceiling. Well, who knows? Maybe it's an 8.5 there because it's Dak Prescott does win a lot of regular season games, but it's not going to be much higher than 8.5 because the Eagles are going to be like at like 11.5, 12. Like the Commanders are probably 9.5, 10 because there's going to be a lot of excitement about Washington year 2 for Jaden Daniels. So Dallas can't really be that much higher than 8. I think 8.5 is the ceiling on what this win total might be, and it wouldn't shock me if it's 8 or 7.5. But whatever it is, I do agree with you that the first move to the Cowboys win total is probably going to be on the under. Like that's going to be the first move. I think a lot of people are just itching and dying to fade this team next season. To where, to your point, like if it's 7.5 and I can cash my ticket on the Cowboys going 8-9 with Dak Prescott at quarterback, like I think that's a good bet to make. So yes, as a fan, I am very much down on this team. But Femi, the better. He definitely sees a potential opportunity to buy in on the Dallas Cowboys just to go over their win total. Because I do think if Dak Prescott's healthy, if CeeDee Lamb is healthy, if Micah Parsons is healthy, those are still 3 of like the better players at their positions. Like Dak is like a good quarterback, not a great quarterback, but Lamb is probably a top 5, top 7 receiver. Parsons is probably like a top 4, top 3 edge rusher. Like those are some key players, big time guys in some important positions to where I do think Dallas can at least be somewhat competitive or more competitive than what the betting market might think, given the fact that the offseason has been an absolute disaster so far. But we'll get more on the Dallas Cowboys offseason and try to make sense of this now newfound beef between Micah Parsons and Demarcus Lawrence when we talk to our guy, our BetMGM Network and Odyssey teammate, RJ Choppy from 105 Through the Fan in Dallas, next here on You Better You Bet.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, millions of men experience ED, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. At Hims, our own board-certified urologist, Dr. Peter Stahl, knows this better than anyone, and he knows that Hims can help.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, Senior Vice President of Men's Sexual Health at Hims. I've helped many guys with ED, and it has never been more convenient to treat than it is right now, thanks to Hims.
Through Hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs. Options at up to 95% less than the brand names when you get started at hims.com/joy. To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% less than brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit.
Welcome to AT&T. How can I help?
Hey, I thought I could trust my twins with my phone, but, they outnumber me, man.
Whoa, that's a lot of glitter paint. Let's trade
lives. At AT&T, everyone can trade in an old or glittered iPhone any year, any condition, and save on a new iPhone. Ask how to get iPhone 16 Pro on us. New and existing customers. Savings vary by device and trade-in combinations. Restrictions apply. See att.com for details. AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan.
It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE-certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. If you have open roles, chances are you're feeling this too. That's why you need Robert Half. Our specialized recruiting professionals engage their skills with our award-winning AI to connect businesses of all sizes with highly skilled talent in finance and accounting, technology, marketing, and creative, legal and administrative, and customer support. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
The best day for great deals on everything for spring is one day, as in the Macy's One Day Sale. Find the best prices of the month on spring essentials, from handbags starting at $49.99 to sheets starting at just $9.99. From 40 to 50% off new looks for the family to 40 to 50% off mattresses from Serta and more. And you can earn rewards even faster during Star Money bonus days. It's a day that's unlike any other day. The Macy's One Day Sale, today. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing then another. And don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation. But then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
We're back in the Miller's front yard who recently switched to True Green.
Their lawn started looking like a golf course, and PGA Tour golfers started showing up.
Here's one now hitting out of this lush green grass. He has to avoid that sandbox to keep his round going. Oh, into the sand. It's a toy dump truck and rolls out.
Oh, the neighbors love the action on this True Green lawn.
Get a PGA Tour quality lawn for as little as $1 a day. Sign up now at TrueGreen.com. Exclusions apply. See TrueGreen.com for details.
Get ready to experience the ultimate fusion of wagering and entertainment. This is the BetMGM Network. Kicking off your morning with the Daily Tip with Michael Jenkins and Chelsea Messenger.
Over.
It's a very simple way to look at it. It's the best way to look at it.
Followed by the newly branded Bet Sweats with Joe O and Sammy P.
When I stop talking, that's when you jump in usually.
He said, ring that bell! He said, ring that bell! Then it's You Better You Bet, hosted by Nick Costos and Femi Abebefe.
Great teams and great players get a whistle. It's happened forever. It will continue to happen.
Capped off every night with the electric Brad Evans and Ryan Horvath on BetMGM tonight.
Oh, that's a sexy phrase.
Quote Dr. Dre, creep with me and walk with me on this one.
Welcome to a new era of wagertainment. This is the BetMGM Network.
You know, Dallas is my home. I made my home there. You know, my family lives there. You know, I'm forever going to be there. But, you know, I know for sure I'm not going to win a Super Bowl there. So, yeah. We here.
We're here. Demarcus Lawrence, welcome to the Seahawks. Thanks for joining us.
Let's get back to You Better You Bet on the BetMGM Network.
Oh, how about that one there? Demarcus Lawrence, former Dallas Cowboy, now turned Seattle Seahawk. That audio courtesy of Hawk Blogger, a Seahawks blog interviewing Demarcus Lawrence as he was introduced to the Seattle media yesterday on Thursday. after signing a 3-year, $42 million contract with the Seahawks after many years down in Dallas. This is You Better You Bet on the BetMGM Network. Femi Abebefe, PJ Glasser. And to help us break down this now newfound Demarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons beef, and also whatever the hell else the Cowboys have been doing this offseason, we bring in our BetMGM Network teammate, our Odyssey teammate down at 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, the one and only RJ Choppy, host of the Sean and RJ Show, which you can check out weekdays 5:30 to 10 a.m. Central Time. Find him on Twitter at RJ Choppy. RJ, I got to start off with this Lawrence Parsons beef because this kind of came out of nowhere for me. Like, I'm a fan of the team. Like, I didn't really realize that these guys maybe were at odds or so, but has this been something that's been bubbling over the last couple of years between Parsons and Lawrence, or is this just Lawrence maybe waiting to leave the organization and trying to get a joke in here after now many years of playoff failures down in Dallas?
You know, let's just say they don't exchange Christmas cards. Like, that's they're not enemies. They're frenemies. Like, they're, Demarcus Lawrence he called them the hot boys, right? The hot boys. That was the defensive line. They called them the hot boys. Micah never kind of acknowledged that. He never went along with that. It was just something he wanted to, start his own thing. That's fine, whatever. And, people you work with, you don't have to be best friends with them. That doesn't mean that you hate each other. But it also means that from what I've heard, there wasn't a much of a relationship. It wasn't like they were enemies, but they weren't BFF. They just they were teammates. They were teammates, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you all played sports at some level. There's been people on your team that you really, really love, and there are people that you really don't like, and there's other people that you're just like, they're there. You're there, they're there. I think that's where that was. They weren't best friends. From everything I've heard, but it's not like they hated each other, but there was obviously some tension, and it spilled out yesterday.
RJ, do you have people that come on your show and just hate on Micah for like doing the podcast, especially during the season? Like, are fans very frustrated with that, especially when the team's losing?
The old school fan is draw the plays in the dirt guy, the pick yourself up from your bootstraps guy. They were the same guy who got on Tony Romo for playing golf, that got on Romo and Witten for going to Cabo. That's the same guy that gets on Micah for doing a podcast. The new school fan doesn't care because everyone's got a podcast now. Everyone's got a podcast. Everyone's got a Twitter. Everyone's got a Snapchat and a Facebook and an Instagram. They don't care, and the reality is that the rules of sports, professional sports, especially the NFL and college, 30 years ago, they were different. You were practicing in pads two times a week. Now it's maybe once a week because you only have a certain amount through the day. You're not in the facility as much as maybe you used to be, where there were no rules. And it's just a different world. So, yeah, there are some people that get on Micah for doing the podcast, for being a Bleacher Report or whatever, the dignitary of the NFL, if you will. But that's just the way it is in sports. Everyone's got a podcast. No one cares if LeBron goes on a podcast, right? No one cares. But, some fans, a little old school.
Yeah, and Demarcus Lawrence kind of playing into that a little bit as well, saying that maybe if you spent less time tweeting and more time winning, I wouldn't have left. And then the devil emoji, which is a favorite of ours here on You Better You Bet. It's just like what's going on with this team here? But you have that going on between Parsons and now Lawrence, who's now with the Seattle Seahawks. But then earlier this morning, we all see the Adam Schefter tweets about Cooper Kupp, to where it's like, hey, a dark horse team, the Dallas Cowboys. And then 1 hour later, well, maybe they're not actually making a push, and it's not likely that they're going to be the landing spot for Cooper Kupp. We're also waiting to see what Cooper Kupp does. Some of the reports out there expected him to sign today. That could still be the case. But where do you think the Cowboys actually stand in this Cooper Kupp sweepstakes? Like, are they just sort of like, hey, the team that's offering a little bit of money and then they're not really a contender? Or could they actually get back into this thing? Because as it stands right now, nobody's really trying to bend over backwards to offer Cooper Kupp the world, given the fact that he's been banged up throughout his career.
So I went in the pool the other day. It was 59 degrees in the water. All right, I went in the pool. Whew. But I got in like just barely waist deep. Not quite above the stomach. That's what the Cowboys are in the Cooper Kupp deal. They'll they'll get in, but there's a limit. Cooper Kupp wants like 13, 14 million. That's the report. I don't think the Cowboys are comfortable doing that. I think the Cowboys are crazy. You know what? My take here is, you know, and this is not about Cooper Kupp, because if you want to argue that he's washed or he's too hurt, you know what? You're absolutely right. I can't argue that. But the Cowboys restructured all these contracts a couple of weeks ago, which means they just kicked the can down the road. They did that to open up cap space. Why would you do that if you're not going to sign players? And I don't mean signing guys for $1.5 million. I don't mean signing, you know, Miles Sanders, who's coming off of back-to-back bad years. I mean, like a real difference maker. And Fowler could be that. I mean, he's a good player. They got $8 million. But Cooper Kupp, that's a guy, you know. We've talked about, you know, Stephon Diggs. We've talked about Tyler Lockett. I mean, these are all players that can help your football team. You've got to spend money. If you want to be in, if you don't want to spend money to get out of the NFL, like that's the reality of it. You've got to spend money. And if they're scared off by $13 or $14 million for a number 2 wide receiver, and that's what Kupp would be this year, as the number 2 on this team. I just don't know what you're doing.
What do you think's the biggest area need for this team right now, RJ, when you look at the roster? If you had to point to one position, what do you think the biggest need is? Well, they got a lot, and I don't know if I could break it down to one. I mean, they need offensive line help. At the end of the day, like, they need offensive line help. The Cowboys as a whole, when they've been at their best, you know, really since the 90s, they've had a great offensive line. They had a really good one, obviously, in the 90s. When Romo was doing his thing, 07 to 2010, it was a really good offensive line. I mean, you had Flozell Adams, Mark Colombo, Kyle Kosher, Andre Gerard, Leonard Davis. I mean, that was a good offensive line. I think it's a forgotten one. And then you had the most recent one with Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, and Tyron Smith. So you've had really quality lines here. When they're at their best, that's a dominant part of their team. So I would say that's their most pressing need, because they don't have a great 5, I should say. Great 5.
This is You Better You Bet fam, your bet fave PJ Glasser. We're hanging out with RJ Choppy, our BetMGM Network teammate. Also does a great job down at 105 through the Fan in Dallas and Odyssey Station. Sean and RJ, 5:30 to 10 a.m. Central Time. Make sure you check that out. You'll find him on Twitter at RJ Choppy. I want to go back to something that you said earlier in this interview here, RJ, because you said that like the Cowboys need to spend. They need to like get the urge to spend because they've freed up all this cap space, restructuring Dak Prescott, restructuring CeeDee Lamb. Like, why do you think the Cowboys don't want to spend? Because this is like an annual thing. Everyone asks me now leading up as a Cowboys fan, what do you think your team's going to do in free agency? I said, well, nothing. Like, they haven't done anything since signing Brandon Carr back in 2012. Like, that's like the last big time contract that they gave out on the first wave of free agency. And that's more than a decade ago. Why do you think this team is so apprehensive to spending big dollars in this first wave of free agency?
All right. So you got to know the history here, right? So, by the way, I saw the stat the other day. The last free agent coming into this year that they had signed to more than $6 million a year was Greg Hardy.
Jeez.
$6 million. $6 million. That's it. $6 million a year outside free agent. Obviously, they signed Dak Prescott, Osa, CD. But you get what I'm saying. A couple of things. The history of the organization. One, Jerry likes his own guys. He wants to draft guys and he wants to pay his own guys. That's what they like. I don't know if that's an ego thing to say I discovered them. I don't know. That's just the way it is. The other thing is that they got scared off because Carr was a bust. You know, they were never dipping that deep into the free agent waters. If you remember, the Joey Galloway deal, late 90s, scared them off too. They traded 2 firsts for Joey Galloway at the end of the Aikman, Emmett, Irvin era. And, you know, Michael had just gotten hurt. He wanted to give Troy a wide receiver a chance. So they trade 2 firsts for Joey Galloway, and they trade him to Seattle, and they wound up taking Sean Alexander with one of those picks. I can't remember who the other one was, but you know that scared them off, right? They kind of got you know, they're a little scared there. So they get scarred. They get scarred by moves they make. But they never get scarred by moves they don't make. And that's the kind of surprising thing. Like, there's a lot of moves they haven't made. And if you look at Josh Allen, you know, the Josh Allen contract that he just got, right? $55 million a year or whatever it is. So he takes like $5 million less than market value. And everyone's like, well, why couldn't Dak do that? Well, I'll tell you why Dak couldn't do that, because, Josh wasn't disrespected the entire time. He had 4 years left on that contract, and the Cowboys like to drag their feet and take this all the way to the end. And their philosophy and their process is so backwards. Why couldn't you, if they had signed Dak after the 2022 season, where they lose in the divisional round of San Fran, right? He still had 2 years left in his deal. They could have gotten him probably a little bit less than the top of market, because it would have been like, hey, we believe in you. Let's go. Let's go win this thing. Here's 4 more years of security. And that's what Allen got. And the whole thing, the whole way they do their operation, they run this thing, it boggles the mind, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, that's really interesting. RJ, before you hopped on, Femi and I were talking, and I was saying I really can't remember coming into a season expectations ever being this low in Dallas. Like, can you, remember a time heading into the season? Like, at this point, does it almost feel like a win for the team if they just get into the postseason this upcoming year?
It's funny. We were talking about this the other day. When they started, it was the 2014 season. They drafted Zach Martin instead of Johnny Manziel. Okay? It was the absolute right pick. But coming into that year, we were sitting in the boss's office after the show. We were just kind of hanging out, having a meeting. And we look at the win totals. The win totals in Vegas came out that day. And it was 8.5. It was 8.5 was the win total for the Cowboys in 2014. And every single person in that room said, we need to go to Vegas and bet the under. This team is winning 4 games. And they wind up winning 12, right? And it was a great year. Romo played as good as he has ever played. The offensive line, DeMarco Murray. It was a fantastic season. And at that point, apathy had set in a lot of the fan base. 3 straight 8-8 years. Nobody loved Jason Garrett. The offensive line had been, kind of rebuilt and shifted. They didn't know what they had from a weapon perspective. They obviously didn't know what they had in DeMarco Murray. Romo had health issues. But that was it. I think that was the last time there's been this much apathy going into a season.
So we've been kind of kicking around like the win total is probably going to be like 8 coming up next season. Like, early thoughts, like pending whatever they do the rest of free agency, probably nothing. Let's see what they do in the draft. Like, would you go over or under a Dallas Cowboys win total of 8 for next year?
I would go over. At the end of the day, I got to. Here's the thing. I can't forget. I keep forgetting who they're playing next year. I think they actually do have a difficult schedule. I think they play the AFC West. Look, when you have Dak Prescott, and I still think Dak is the top 10 quarterback when healthy, I generally am going to get you to around 10 wins. So when you've got a good quarterback, and Dak's he's not a great quarterback, but he's a good quarterback. He's a really good quarterback. He might be borderline great when he's healthy. I think over. I think there are still a good enough team. They still got difference makers at wide receiver. I don't know what they're going to do, obviously, in the draft, but let's just say they get the Ashton Genty behind an offensive line that has been rebuilt, if it gets rebuilt. Or let's say they draft offensive line. They get the Booker kid from Alabama, the guard. Or maybe Campbell falls to them, right? I doubt it, but maybe. And they revamp the offensive line, and all of a sudden they can run the football. It's too early to tell right now. They're probably a 9-win team, I think.
Yeah, you are correct. They played the AFC West, and they also played the NFC North. NFC North is a very tough division.
Oh, God, under. I lied. Way under. Take the under.
It is a tough sledding for the Dallas Cowboys as they'll be welcoming in Patrick Mahomes to Jerry World at some point next season, which I'm sure that'll be a game highly rated and highly favored for the Kansas City Chiefs to win that game, barring some kind of an injury there. But he is RJ Choppy, our BetMGM Network teammate, also does a great job down at 105 through the Fan down in Dallas and Odyssey Station, host of Sean and RJ, 5:30 to 10 a.m. Central Time, covering all things Dallas Cowboys. Hit him up on Twitter at RJ Choppy. RJ, thanks for hanging out with us. I'm sure we'll talk soon between now and the NFL draft.
I'm always here. You know my number.
Awesome stuff there. That is RJ Choppy from 105 through the Fan down in Dallas, and of course, BetMGM Network. PJ, it's hard being a Cowboy fan. Tell you that right now. We'll talk some more NFL on the other side. This is You Better You Bet here on the BetMGM Network.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, millions of men experience ED, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. At HIMSS, our own board-certified urologist, Dr. Peter Stahl, knows this better than anyone, and he knows that HIMSS can help.
Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Stahl, Senior Vice President of Men's Sexual Health at HIMSS. I've helped many guys with ED, and it has never been more convenient to treat than it is right now, thanks to HIMSS.
Through HIMSS.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs. Options at up to 95% less than the brand names when you get started at hims.com/joy. To start your free online visit and find ED treatment at up to 95% less than brand name prices, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit.
Welcome to AT&T. How can I help?
Hey, I thought I could trust my twins with my phone, but, they outnumber me, man.
Whoa, that's a lot of glitter paint.
Let's trade lives.
At AT&T, everyone can trade in an old or glittered iPhone, any year, any condition, and save on a new iPhone. Ask how to get iPhone 16 Pro on us. New and existing customers. Savings vary by device and trade-in combinations. Restrictions apply. See att.com for details. AT&T. Connecting changes everything.
O'Reilly. Check engine light on? Take the guesswork out of your check engine light with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free and provides a report with solutions based on over 650 million vehicle scans verified by ASE-certified master technicians. And if you need help, we can recommend a shop for you. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. If you have open roles, chances are you're feeling this too. That's why you need Robert Half. Our specialized recruiting professionals engage their skills with our award-winning AI to connect businesses of all sizes with highly skilled talent in finance and accounting, technology, marketing, and creative, legal and administrative, and customer support. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
The best day for great deals on everything for spring is one day, as in the Macy's One Day Sale. Find the best prices of the month on spring essentials, from handbags starting at $49.99 to sheets starting at just $9.99. From 40 to 50% off new looks for the family to 40 to 50% off mattresses from Serta and more. And you can earn rewards even faster during Star Money bonus days. It's a day that's unlike any other day. The Macy's One Day Sale, today. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Where'd you get those shoes? Easy. They're from DSW. Because DSW has the exact right shoes for whatever you're into right now. You know, like the sneakers that make office hours feel like happy hour. The boots that turn grocery aisles into runways. And all the styles that show off the many sides of you, from daydreamer to multitasker and everything in between. Because you do it all in really great shoes. Find a shoe for every you at your DSW store or DSW.com.
The Daily Tip featuring Michael Jenkins and Chelsea Messenger. Weekday mornings, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern on the BetMGM Network.
Right now, it feels like the OGs of the NBA are absolutely killing it. Because not just Steph Curry, LeBron James, we want to anoint these young teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, who the average age of their starting five, I think, is like 24 years old. But I think some of these older guys who are in their 30s, they say, not so fast, my friend. There are still some of us that you might have to deal with. And the Warriors are one of those teams. And this was one of the rhetorics that we've been throwing around about Jimmy Butler as well. He's 35 years old. Think about Tom Brady. he definitely wouldn't have won a Super Bowl if he didn't go to a team ready-made. So it feels like the same goes kind of with Jimmy Butler, is that he goes to the Golden State Warriors and he doesn't have to be the guy.
The Daily Tip, morning 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern from the BetMGM Network, America's home for wagertainment. Presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app today. Please gamble responsibly.
Let's get back to You Better You Bet on the BetMGM Network.
Welcome back. This is You Better You Bet here on the BetMGM Network. Femi Abebfe alongside PJ Glasser. Thank you to RJ Choppy of 105.3 The Fan in Dallas and Odyssey Station, as well as our BetMGM Network teammate for joining us in the last segment, talking all things Dallas Cowboys. It's not looking great. Like, they don't want to spend, PJ. They want to drag their feet on their big-time extensions that they have to do, as we saw last offseason with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. This team feels like they're headed nowhere. But maybe that does give us a betting opportunity, as we mentioned about 40 minutes ago, a potential over on the Dallas Cowboys with their win total when they'll start to populate next month, the closer we get to the NFL draft. But to real quick, want to go ahead and update some of the scores that we have in college basketball before we get back to some NFL talk here. In the under 4 media timeout, I should say, in the Big Ten tournament between Wisconsin and UCLA. Wisconsin, they've just made light work of the Bruins today, 83-56. Badgers can't miss. John Tonji, the All-American, 26 points, 9 rebounds. He's been unbelievable. It feels like Wisconsin, they're just like the basket is the size of like a hula hoop for the Wisconsin Badgers today. They are just lights out from beyond the arc as they are just taking apart the UCLA Bruins. And then in the SEC tournament, we are at halftime in a game that both PJ and I are sweating out. We have Texas plus the points and a little bit of Texas money line. Longhorns trail Tennessee 41-38. So a close game. Chaz Lanier, the Tennessee star, the leading scorer in that one with 19 points. If Texas can just stop him, maybe they can actually win. But Chaz Lanier lighting it up, doing it from beyond the arc, inside. He's doing it all over the court with 19 points leading the way. We do have some college basketball games that are going to tip off within the hour, actually within a couple of hours here at 6:30 Eastern time. Marquette St. John's, the Big East semifinal. Illinois, Maryland, the Big Ten quarterfinal. And then North Carolina and Duke. That one tips off after we close up shop here. That's a 7 Eastern tip-off down in Charlotte. But PJ, let's get back to the National Football League, because in addition to the Cowboys, they have all their stuff going on. Cooper Kupp, we're all waiting to see what happens there. The big news today, Cincinnati, though, looking like they're closing in on contracts with both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. But around and around we go with Aaron Rodgers here, PJ. And Aaron Rodgers in this sweepstakes, or I don't even know if it's a sweepstakes, because he's been a free agent now for a couple of days, and nobody's really knocking on the door to go out there and sign him right now. Believe what you want with the reports. He's taking his time. Maybe the Minnesota Vikings are taking their time, as Diana Rossini of The Athletic has been reporting. But where do you think that Aaron Rodgers is going to end up in 2025, whether it's the Vikings, the Giants, the Steelers? And I guess, how do you see that team and their outlook heading into next season? Like, are you in on Aaron Rodgers with insert team here?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Rodgers, it's got to be the Steelers. You know, I would have, if Minnesota signed, I don't see Minnesota signing him. I think they're going to ride with JJ. The Giants, like, if you're Rodgers, why would you go to that situation at this point in your career? I mean, you have all the money, you have all the accolades. Like, try to win another championship. And the best team available to do that in the current situation, who needs a quarterback, is Pittsburgh, especially now after trading for DK. Him and Mike Tomlin like each other. So I honestly don't know what's taking so long, unless Pittsburgh just has been, their reservations about it maybe. But for me, it's pretty simple that Rodgers should be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Then all of a sudden you get Rodgers in that building, with Pickens and Metcalf, Freiermuth. They did lose Najee to the Chargers. You still got Jalen Warren there. I would probably expect him to go out and get a running back at some point in the draft. We know their defense is good. All Tomlin does is have a winning record. Obviously, the division's tough. The AFC as a whole is very difficult as well. But if you're Rodgers, Femi, and at this point in your career, the priority is to compete for a championship and try to win games, I think that the Steelers are clear and obvious at this point, the best choice. And ultimately, I think it ends up happening, and I think Rodgers is a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yeah, the Steelers signed Mason Rudolph earlier this week, probably like an insurance policy in case Rodgers goes elsewhere. You can at least, nobody's going to be excited about Mason Rudolph week 1 starter, but you can at least start him in a lot of games since he's been a starter for the Steelers and then most recently with the Tennessee Titans. But the Steelers are in contention. The Giants are in contention. Maybe the Vikings as a potential landing spot for Aaron Rodgers. But ESPN NFL insider Adam Schefter was on with ESPN Milwaukee earlier this week and had this to say about this drawn-out process for Aaron Rodgers and where he might play football next season.
To me, this shouldn't be that hard, right? Like, the Steelers want you. The Giants want you. We're seeing players across the league make decisions. It shouldn't be that hard. Either you want to play or you don't. You want to play for Pittsburgh or you don't. You want to play in New York or you don't. Like, Chewy, what are you going to have for lunch? You're going to make a decision, you're going to drag it out for 4 days, 5 days, a week. Like, it's not that hard. Make the decision and live with it, right?
I mean, I feel like Schefter is speaking for all of us when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. It's like what's going on here, man? Like, you know, like make the decision, buddy. Like, I don't know what we have to be contemplating, and maybe that this is because now we're getting reports today that it could be the Vikings that are still trying to figure out what they want to do with their quarterback position. I don't know what the Vikings are thinking about. Like, you drafted J.J. McCarthy in the first round and he got injured, but it sounds like his knee is going to be fine. The rehab process is on schedule, so he should be good to go for like the spring OTAs and mini camp coming up in June. So what kind of a decision is there to make? If you loved J.J. McCarthy last year, you haven't really seen anything that would move you off of that opinion because he didn't play this past season. So I don't understand that really, but I don't know, man. Like, you got limited options, buddy. Pick one, as Schefter says. Like, that's where I'm at.
I'm with you. Now we'll see how long it ends up, taking before Rodgers ends up signing. I would be pretty surprised though at this point if he isn't a Steeler. Because like it helps out both parties at the end of the day. I mean, the Steelers have been looking for a quarterback since Roethlisberger, and obviously Rodgers probably just going to be a 1-year solution. Like, he's obviously not the long-term plan. You still got to find your franchise guy. But I mean, by trading for Metcalf, Femi, and paying him all that money, you're telling your football team that you are trying to win games right now, right? You're bringing in DK to go along with Pickens, give yourself 2 legit options on the outside. The defense is very good, as we know. So it's just, I mean, in this league, you cannot win when you don't have a quarterback, especially like not even a middle of the pack quarterback. And the Steelers just haven't been able to have that the last few years. And I think the Steelers also realize that they can't get rid of Tomlin because they know that they won't find a coach that's better than him. But also, like, it would be in your best interest to get rid of Tomlin because that's the only way you're probably going to be bad enough to get your quarterback of the future, right? So the Steelers, I think they realize that, all right, as long as Mike Tomlin's our head coach, like, we're going to be competitive. We're going to win games. We got to try and make this work. Like, we're probably not going to be bad enough to get one of the top guys. We're just going to have to be fortunate that somebody falls in the late first round, or maybe we trade for somebody here upcoming in the draft. But let's surround ourselves with a good football team so that when we do end up finding that quarterback, like, he steps in to a good situation. So that's what the Steelers are trying to do. They're trying to build the rest of their team to bring in a quarterback to put him in a successful situation. And I think Rodgers is going to be the short-term plan this year, and then they got to go out and find their long-term plan as well. But yeah, I think it's Rodgers, Femi. I honestly don't know what's taking this long. We know Rodgers is unconventional when it comes to certain things. Maybe he's still taking his time to mull it all over, but
yeah, he's an enigma, is what he is. Yeah,
exactly. But like, I mean, Femi, what's the decision, dude? I mean, Steelers or Giants? Like, what are we talking about? Giants are gonna have a top 3 pick again next year.
Yeah, the Giants are not. Because I guess the thing for the New York Giants would be that the general manager, Joe Shane, and the head coach, Brian Dable, want to save their jobs. Aaron Rodgers is not going to save your job, not in 2025. He literally just got everybody fired at his last job, like with the New York Jets. They all got cleaned out.
Good point.
So that's not the savior. So you might as well draft Cam Ward or the rookie quarterback, insert rookie quarterback here, and do that thing. Like, roll the dice and try to hit on a big upside guy that could potentially, like, if they draft Cam Ward and he's good, that actually could save Joe Shane and Brian Dable's job. Aaron Rodgers going 7-10 can't do that for you. But on the Steelers side, because you feel like you think that the Steelers are the best situation for Aaron Rodgers to go to, at least realistically. Win total of 8.5. Let's just say that's what it is because it's a Steelers team. Mike Tomlin, the win total is always 8.5 because the guy's been over 500 every single year of his coaching career. Are you going over or under with Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin as the head coach quarterback combination in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I'm going over. I think they're going to be a playoff team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think they're going to be a playoff team. So obviously, like when you play this game, right, you got to think about teams that made the playoffs this past year that probably aren't going to make it this next upcoming year. You would think the Ravens are going to be back. The Chiefs are going to be back. The Bills are going to be back. AFC South's probably only getting one team in. So whether that's the Texans or somebody else, you got to give somebody from the South. So then it comes down to those division teams, right? Those wild card teams. Is it going to be Denver, the Chargers, and the Steelers again? I think it's going to be the Steelers again, Femi. And then, you got Cincinnati battling maybe to overtake Denver potentially. I mean, maybe another team out of the AFC South gets in there. Maybe the Miami Dolphins do. But yeah, I think the Steelers get back. I think if there's a team that made the playoffs last year in the AFC that's not going to make it this upcoming year, I think it's Denver. I think the Steelers are going to get back to the playoffs. Again, like you just upgraded with Metcalf at receiver to go along with Pickens. And if you end up getting Rodgers, Russ played some good football last season, but I think even at this age, like Aaron will give you more consistent quarterback play than Russ will. So yeah,
really?
I do. Yeah.
I look at it because and a lot of the numbers will suggest that both guys are below average quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. So we're arguing over just below average play here. But I don't know how much of an upgrade it is because you look at some of Rodgers' numbers like EPA per play, QBR. It's in the same neighborhood as Russell Wilson. At this point in his career where the athleticism's no longer there behind an offensive line that is kind of shaky with Pittsburgh, not as bad as the Jets and not as bad as the Giants for sure, but still shaky. Yeah. I don't think either guy's a good option, to be honest. Maybe they do get back to the playoffs because Tomlin magic and Tomlin voodoo, and they're going to find their way to 9-10 wins every single year because that's what they are. But it feels like the ceiling is 6th seed and then losing in the wild card again like it was last year.
Yeah, maybe they win a game when they get to the playoffs. I'm certainly not betting them to win the AFC or win the Super Bowl or anything like that. But I don't know. I think if they get Rodgers with those two receivers on the outside, Femi, I just every year when we think the Steelers are going to be bad, they never are because they just find a way. It's what they do.
Tomlin voodoo. that's the only way I
know it all too well. All too well.
They start playing Renegade, buddy. Look out. Here's all those Ravens turnovers.
Yeah, exactly. You get a turnover. You get a turnover.
Yep. Jim Root of the Three-Man Weave joins us to begin hour number 3 next year on You Better You Bet.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM.
If you've got a gas-powered engine, keep it running like new at every fill-up. Stable in-season protection is your engine's preventative medicine, cleaning and protecting the entire fuel system in season. In outdoor power equipment, prevent gum and varnish buildup that could cause a rough or non-running engine. For cars and trucks, increase fuel efficiency and power by removing deposits, ensuring your engine's long-term health. Stable outperforms the competition in independent lab testing. So at every fill-up, start with Stable.
I didn't ask to be thrown in the streets with nowhere to go, but I did ask for help, and Covenant House was there for me.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year. For these kids who didn't ask to be put in this unthinkable situation, Covenant House is there, providing hot meals, a safe place to sleep, medical care, and love.
They just really genuinely just wanted to help me succeed, and I'm succeeding.
To learn more, go to safeplacetosleep.org today.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. If you have open roles, chances are you're feeling this too. That's why you need Robert Half. Our specialized recruiting professionals engage their skills with our award-winning AI to connect businesses of all sizes with highly skilled talent in finance and accounting, technology, marketing, and creative, legal and administrative, and customer support. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right. So we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen Report.
The best day for great deals on everything for spring is one day, as in the Macy's One Day Sale. Find the best prices of the month on spring essentials, from handbags starting at $49.99 to sheets starting at just $9.99. From 40 to 50% off new looks for the family to 40 to 50% off mattresses from Serta and more. And you can earn rewards even faster during Star Money bonus days. It's a day that's unlike any other day. The Macy's One Day Sale, today. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing then another. And don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation. But then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
Geico gives you more coverage for whatever you need, from a dead battery to a flat tire to a fender bender. And you get 24/7 help and fast claims with the Geico app. It's a total car coverage combo, kind of like the combination of EDM, death metal, and smooth jazz. I think this could catch on. Whatever you need, get more with Geico.
Team, the offensive line's revamped. You know, Caleb is going to be under center more. I think Ben Johnson's going to have him in rhythm, on time. Honestly, I think at pick 10, I think they take Genty. I really like what they did this offseason.
Beat the market on BetMGM tonight with Brad Evans and Ryan Horvath. Every weekday from 7 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Presented by BetMGM. The sportsbook born in Vegas. Check out Bet Sweats with Joe Ostrowski and Sam Paniatovich. Weekdays 9 to noon Eastern on the BetMGM Network.
The problem last year with Carolina is that they gave up 534 points. That ain't going to cut it, brother. 534 divided by 17, they were giving up 30 points a game. 31.4 points per game. If they can fix that and shore some of that up, and the offense takes another step, could you be convinced to go over on Carolina this year? Let's say the number 6.5.
Okay, that's something that I can wrap my brain around much more than where I thought you were going to go. I thought you were going to go with winning the division. Don't think the perception on Carolina is accurate. They're not as bad as some of the numbers or what their record was showing a year ago, assuming that they're going to be much healthier.
Bet Sweats, 9 to noon Eastern on the BetMGM Network. America's home for wagertainment. BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app today. Please gamble responsibly.
This is The Bet, WEEI, 850 AM, Boston. Part of the BetMGM Network. An Odyssey sports station and Boston's home for wagertainment. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
It's time to laugh, to win, and to live the thrill of the action.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. What the hell's going on out here? No idea what's going on, but I am excited.
Every pick, every play, every game-changing moment. This is You Better You Bet, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas on the BetMGM Network.
Welcome back. It is our number 3 of You Better You Bet here on the BetMGM Network. Femi Abebefe hanging out with PJ Glasser. PJ doing a great job filling in for Nick Costos. Nick will be back with us on Sunday for You Better You Bet's countdown to tip-off, 7 to 9 Eastern time with Brad Evans right after the brackets are released. But we've had a fun couple of hours. We've got a fun couple of hours left here on the program. But just to give you guys a score update from the Big Ten tournament, we have gone final in Indianapolis. Wisconsin beats UCLA 86-70. PJ and I are kind of joking about it during the break a little bit. If you bet the Bruins in the second half, due to garbage time, you'd have covered that number as well if you shot for the middle there with Wisconsin. So PJ gets home with Wisconsin full game. I had Wisconsin first half on Wisconsin as they go to the semifinals to take on Michigan State. But we're going to keep the college basketball vibes rolling here to tip off this hour number 3 with our buddy, college basketball analyst for Three Man Weave. Check him out on The Athletic, The Action Network. The great Jim Root returns to You Better You Bet. You can find all of Jim works over on Twitter at Second Chance Points. Jim, hope all is well. Happy March Madness, as this conference tournament Friday is off to a pretty good start for us. But we have to start with the big game in the ACC, the semifinal, 7 Eastern, North Carolina Duke Part 3. This one, though, likely without Cooper Flagg, who I think if he plays, I'd be absolutely stunned if he plays in this game. They're saying that it's unlikely that he will play. Duke right now, a 7-point favorite, total 152.5. How are you betting this game, North Carolina Duke, with the best player in college basketball not available tonight for the Blue Devils?
Yeah, I'm unlikely to buy a yacht today too, Femi. So I don't think we're going to see Cooper out there. This was an interesting game to handicap just because you had to kind of think about how much do you weigh in Flagg from a number standpoint. This game closed 9.5 or 10 at UNC just a week ago. So you have a pretty good barometer of what the value they're baking in here. And they're telling you Flagg's worth 6 or so points, which is a lot, but I'm not sure it's enough. I kind of like UNC here. It's crazy for one player to mean that much, but Flagg is number one in like every single advanced analytic. Evan Mia's site, his BPR, he's the number one guy there. He's number one in win shares per 40 minutes, number one in box plus minus, both per Sports Reference. So I don't know if maybe he's just some guy that's like worth 10 points. I mean, Duke's still got plenty of talent here. They're loaded. But Flagg just kind of brings everything together. He's the rug that ties the room together with his defense, his rotations, his playmaking, his shooting. He's kind of just the jack of all trades for that team. And UNC, the desperation factor for the bubble matters to me in the sense that if they get down 12 with 2 minutes left, there's no rolling over. Like it's not an extra motivation versus Duke, but I think the back door will always be open. So I actually like UNC at 7. I got it at 7.5 earlier. I would definitely still take it at 7. Less than 7, I get a little dicey just because free throws, that's a number the game can land on if they're down 3, a couple of possessions it makes. Then you get up to 7. But at 7, I think that's a pretty solid number for the Heels.
Jim, I was looking this morning. Do you think now that there's maybe value on Duke to win the ACC tournament? You mentioned you like Carolina with the points. Duke was like minus 130, minus 135 this morning. They were obviously minus 325 pre-tournament. Clemson, I think, is 4-1. Louisville's like plus 450. So those are some interesting options too. But like everybody's talking about the game tonight, I'm looking like big picture ACC tournament, even without Flagg. Like, do you think that's good value? Would you lay the juice on Duke to win the ACC tourney at like minus 130?
Yeah, I could be talked into that. And I think the biggest reason why is that the other side of the bracket's got injury issues too. Rain Smith for Louisville, their big time lefty shooter, is not fully healthy. I'm not sure exactly what his status will be tonight. And then Dylan Hunter, the 6th man for Clemson, he just broke his hand. So they've got, they're not full strength. Those guys are certainly not Cooper Flagg level value, but they should shift the line slightly a little bit too if they were playing Duke. And as we kind of discussed before, Duke's got plenty of pieces left. Concaniple's going to be a lottery pick. Kaman Malawach is probably going to be a lottery pick. Tyrese Proctor's got super high pedigree, and he's been there a while, and he's actually been awesome for them in big games. They've got size. They can switch. And the guys that they're bringing in to fill these minutes, Darren Harris, Isaiah Evans, they can get scalding hot from deep, and they have in some of their biggest games. I think back to the Auburn game at Cameron Indoor, the boost they got in the first half from those guys off the bench. So there probably could be some value there. I'm not totally ready to lay it as like odds-on favorite with having to win 2 games without Flagg, but it makes some sense just with Clemson and Louisville not really being full strength either.
Jim, I want to get to some of tonight's games with you as well, but I want to ask first about the 2 Big Ten games that we've seen earlier this afternoon. Michigan State beats Oregon 74-64. Wisconsin, like we mentioned at the top of the hour, they dispatch of UCLA 86-70, setting up Michigan State, Wisconsin in the semifinal tomorrow afternoon down in Indianapolis. Any early thoughts on that matchup as the market's about to start populating? We're going to start to get some of these openers over the next like 10 to 15 minutes. Any early thoughts? Badgers and Sparty. Sparty, who's been maybe the hottest team in college basketball over the last 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, I haven't made this line, so I don't know exactly what I would handicap it at, but I like Wisconsin just on a gut sense here. They love to fire away from deep. They're one of the best shooting teams in the Big Ten and really in the country. And they were scalding hot from deep today. They made 19 threes. So clearly I think they like the sight lines. They're okay with the rims there. And on the other side, Michigan State's had some crazy voodoo luck from perimeter shooting all season. It's a good defensive team. I don't want to take that away from them, but they're top 5 nationally in 3-point percentage against, a number that's like kind of crazy low. And the last time these two teams played, Wisconsin hung around for basically the entire game, and that was without Max Klesmit, big-time shooter, playmaker, gives them a little more juice on the perimeter. I think you see Wisconsin shoot the ball better tomorrow, and with Michigan State kind of banking on that and not quite having the same offensive pop that they would like to have, really. And they shot 47% from deep today, so I don't see that sustaining. I do lean Wisconsin there. I'm going to have to see what the number is.
Jim, in the SEC tonight, 2 really good games. Your Missouri Tigers are taking on Florida. Then you got Bama and Kentucky in the nightcap. These underdogs have been crushing it so far in the SEC tournament. We had Ole Miss covered today. Texas is hanging around right now with Tennessee. Given the option, would you rather take Mizzou tonight plus the 9.5 against Florida? Would you rather take Kentucky plus 7.5 against Bama?
Yeah, I will caveat this answer with I have sometimes a tough time handicapping my alma mater. You know, the heart gets into it, and I'm either emotionally hedging or I'm way too gung-ho about what my team is doing. But I fear for Mizzou a little bit tonight with the fact that they won at Florida. It's the only time they played this year. And I think that's really on Florida's mind. You think you could see when Todd Golden got interviewed last night at Bridgestone Arena, he was thinking, like, we wouldn't mind playing Mizzou, getting a chance at them. The guys wouldn't mind that swing. And then Mark Mitchell being banged up last night, not returning from his little knee injury. I've heard was precautionary, but he might get held out like Cooper Flagg as well. So not having their maybe best, most important player in Mitchell, that really hurts. So I would lean towards Kentucky. I know the Lamont Butler thing is a problem, that they're really susceptible to ball pressure right now, but that's not what Alabama does. Their defense does not force any turnovers. It's really a conservative kind of drop type scheme that should let Kentucky's ball handlers off the hook. We saw late in that game against Oklahoma how poorly their ball handling went. But I think Kentucky can hang around in that game with their shot making, their great ball movement offensively. I know they lost both games against Alabama, but they were both shootouts. And again, I would probably lean towards the over there. I think both teams can score. And I just think Kentucky is able to keep that close with the talent level they still have, even without Butler, Robinson, and Kirk Risa.
This is You Better You Bet Fam, You Bet Faith, PJ Glasser. We're hanging out with Jim Root of the 3-Man Weave, The Athletic, and the Action Network. Check out all of Jim's work over on Twitter at Second Chance Points. Well, Jim, let's pair up these Big East games because PJ and I earlier in the show were talking about how excited we are for the Big East tournament and the semifinals because like Friday night at the Garden always feels like it's electric. We have Marquette St. John's, the Johnnies 3.5-point favorites, total 144. And then the nightcap, UConn and Creighton. Creighton coming off of the double OT scare against DePaul last night. Huskies 4-point favorites, total 139.5. Anything for you in the East semis over Mecca?
Yeah, man, what better place to be than this? With Pitino in the first game and then UConn in the nightcap, there's going to be an incredible amount of fans here. I lean towards the under in the Marquette St. John's game. That was my biggest lean in that game. I didn't really have much on a side perspective, but both teams are elite at slowing down opposing offenses, forcing long possessions. They kind of pressure to force you to use the whole shot clock. They're both in the bottom 30 in average possession length defensively. So I think that's going to take out the tempo a little bit in addition to the stakes of the game. Now, the total's a little bit lower than it was when they just played over the weekend at Marquette, the game that went to overtime. But that was a fairly slow-paced game. I think it'll be below what the projection of around 70-ish possessions for this game. So lean towards the under just based on pace. And then the nightcap, matchup-wise, I like Creighton because UConn's biggest I like UConn because UConn's biggest Achilles heel is teams that force turnovers. Like they've been bad against St. John's. They coughed it up like 25 times against Marquette in their perimeter pressure. And that's not at all what Creighton does. And then you also have Creighton coming off double overtime, playing late into the night. Perhaps that gets into the legs. I mean, Kalkbrenner played 49 minutes. That's tough for a 7-footer to do. And UConn maybe a little bit fresher, having gotten their game done in regulation. I do lean UConn there. The number's not all that great, and Creighton gave them some trouble during the season, but I like the matchup for the Huskies.
What about in the Big 12, Jim? All top 4 seeds advance to the semifinals. You got Houston, 6.5-point favorites over BYU, total 134.5. And then Texas Tech and Arizona, Red Raiders, 2.5-point favorites with the total of 151.5. Both really good games. Any leans or plays for any of those?
I love BYU. That's one of my favorite plays of the night tonight. I will look around for 7 if you can find it, just based, what I said about the 6.5 versus 7 in UNC and Duke. But BYU is just playing fantastic basketball lately. And Houston hasn't been that solid. They're 1-5 against the spread in their last 6. Jalen Roberts is banged up. Their key front court creator, playmaker, lefty forward. They love to get him going downhill. And so with Houston not as sharp, and BYU, much has been made about their 9-game winning streak, but they're also 8-1 against the spread in that span. Like, they have been really exceeding expectations repeatedly. And I know they got blown out by 30. That was back on January 4th. It was Yegor Demon's second game back from an injury. He's much better now. I think they'll be able to handle the pressure of Houston on the perimeter. It's just a more cohesive group. They've got their rotations figured out. 7's a little bit too many for me there with BYU and how well they're playing. Nightcap, Arizona, Texas Tech. Tech, you got to figure out their injuries. Chance McMillan sat out last night. Maybe they hold him out too. These teams got an eye on the NCAA tournament instead. But I still do lean Texas Tech. I think they've got the depth to compensate for no McMillan. Christian Anderson's an absolute future star off the bench, that freshman. I love him. But then with Hawkins, with Toppin, with Darian Williams, who even he got banged up. But I just think they're a better team, more options, more ways to win, whereas Arizona's got to get in transition or they kind of look a little bit clunky.
Let's wrap with the Big Ten games, the quarterfinal games that'll be in the evening slate down in Indianapolis, or up in Indianapolis, I should say. Maryland, a 1-point favorite against Illinois, total 158, and then Purdue, 2.5-point favorites against Michigan. That total sitting 147.5. Anything for you in the 2 Big Ten quarterfinal games later on today?
Yeah, the trend line of the 2 teams has me screaming Illinois, but the one hesitance I have is that Willard and Maryland have owned Brett Underwood, like really strangely over the last couple of years, both straight up and against the spread. They've been fantastic against the Illini, but Illinois just feels like a team that has rediscovered who it is, water kind of finding its level after all the injuries and illnesses they had through February. Back to full strength now. They look good. I just think they're the better team. They got a little bit more depth. The Crab 5, as Maryland's starting 5 has become known, is really good, but there's not a lot of options behind them if anybody has an off night. And then the other game, I lean Michigan, even though they went to Purdue early in the season and lost by 27. It was a big part of why they had a negative point differential in the Big Ten, despite going like 13-7 or something like that. But Michigan's got the 2 bigs that I think can absolutely feast at the rim against Purdue's interior defense. It's one of the worst in the country. It's like bottom 20 in 2-point percentage defense. Golden and Wolf, I think, will have a real nice time finishing in there. You just worry about Braden Smith's pick and roll attack against drop coverage on offense. So probably points, but I think the thing I like more there is Michigan reemerging from kind of the stupor they've been in over the last couple of weeks, getting into the postseason and having a pretty solid matchup there against the interior of Purdue.
Real quick, Jimmy, about 45 to 60 seconds. I wanted to ask you about Auburn because we saw them win today, but not cover. They obviously were coming off 2 straight losses in the SEC, A&M, and then to Alabama. And then today didn't look that great. Any concern about the Auburn Tigers as we get closer to the tournament next week and we have Selection Sunday on Sunday? They're going to be the overall #1 seed, but any concern there about a team that is the national title favorite?
Yeah, I didn't after the Texas A&M game because I thought that was the hangover game after celebrating the SEC outright title. But then today they just got dragged down into such a slow pace, and they didn't have the same kind of fire to extend out into transition and get that game going where they want to play. It seems like they're waiting to flip a switch a little bit, and I don't think you can do that. You want to be playing your best ball as you enter and not hoping to refine your best ball as you get into the tournament. I'm a little bit worried. They're still awesome and definitely a top 3 team, but just a little bit of concern.
Yeah, they're going to be the #1 overall seed, and who knows? Maybe they need a break is what they need because it feels like they've been running through that SEC gauntlet for quite some time. He is Jim Root. Once again, check him out over at 3-Man Weave, the Athletic Action Network on Twitter at Second Chance Points. Jim, good luck with all the bets, and we'll talk soon, man.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome stuff there from Jim Root. We'll get you caught up on all things college hoops on the other side. Femi Betfair, PJ Glasser. This is You Better You Bet.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-444-9336. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-444-9336. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-444-9336. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-444-9336, 800-444-9336, or biglou.com.
Empower. Tim collects bobbleheads. A lot of bobbleheads. Baseball bobbleheads, race car bobbleheads, little chihuahua bobbleheads. He's got an entire room strictly for bobbleheads. Does he need them? No. Is his wife mad about it? A little. But Tim works with Empower, and he got good at money, so he can be a little bad. Ooh, horse bobblehead. Classy, Tim. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi, golf's newest league. It's sharp and it's electric. 2 hours of hammer dropping, overtime forcing, playoffs on the line golf with 24 of the best players from the PGA Tour. Playoffs are here, Monday, March 17th. 1 seed LA versus 4 seed New York at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2 and ESPN+. Tuesday, March 18th, 2 seed the Bay versus 3 seed Atlanta at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN and ESPN+. Tune in to catch all the TGL playoff action. Keep up, it's golf.
Order for Jennifer C. Is this my double shot, double cream, double froth, double pump, double whip, double sleeve? Yeah. Can you handle that much caffeine? Did you know Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year? Oh, really? That's great. Seriously, did you know Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, you just said that.
Did you say I just said that?
Yeah, I'm cutting you off.
I can't have any more? Why not?
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
The best day for great deals on everything for spring is one day, as in the Macy's One Day Sale. Find the best prices of the month on spring essentials, from handbags starting at $49.99 to sheets starting at just $9.99. From 40 to 50% off new looks for the family to 40 to 50% off mattresses from Serta and more. And you can earn rewards even faster during Star Money bonus days. It's a day that's unlike any other day. The Macy's One Day Sale. Today. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing then another. And don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation. But then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof and massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
Geico gives you more coverage, combining all your car coverage needs, from flats to fender benders to dead batteries to towing. It's a total car coverage combination, kind of like a combination of Ranchera, 8-bit video game music, and a high school choir on helium. Hey, I'd stream that song. Whatever you need, from coverage to service, get more with Geico.
Beat the madness of March with the BetMGM Network.
You want to be the best at filling out your bracket? You need to start studying now.
I think it's just going to be Duke and Auburn at the end, and I need someone to talk me out of that opinion.
It's that time of year where you have a chance to be the smartest in the room. Join our insiders and expert guest analysis.
Clark Kellogg.
I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see any #1 seeds in San Antonio.
With the great Jeff Goodman from the Field of 68, a BetMGM production.
Listen, there's no team that's tougher than the Houston Cougars.
At Tom Crean.
There's Big Ten physicality, and then there's Michigan State.
I'm not going to say, hey, UConn could win it all, but that is a team still in the tournament that will be a tough out.
Get out of here. If you think the SEC deserves 3 #1s.
You can get Duke in a close game. You got to like your chances.
Live reacting to the upsets, the buzzer beaters.
Oh, my God, Michigan State in a half quarter. Game over. My God, you got to be kidding me.
Make the BetMGM Network your home for the madness. Listen anywhere on the go with the Odyssey app or watch on YouTube.
Let's get back to You Better You Bet on the BetMGM Network.
welcome back. This is You Better You Bet on this Friday. Femi Abebefe, PJ Glasser, celebrating conference tournaments all throughout the country, baby. The madness is here. Selection Sunday coming up in a couple of days. And then this time next week, we will be within the first round of the NCAA tournament. Like, we'll be sweating out games in Vegas. Cannot wait to have all the guys out here in Vegas. It'll be a home game for me. Maybe I'll wear the white jersey on the show that day, but it's going to be a good time out there at the Mandalay-based sportsbook here on You Better You Bet, as we'll be sweating out the first round of the NCAA tournament. Also, don't forget, Sunday, You Better You Bet's countdown to tip-off. Nick Costos, Brad Evans, as they're breaking down all of the first-round games after the bracket is released, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, giving you all the betting perspective, as well as to bet the region, all the fun markets that are available during the NCAA tournament. They'll be breaking those down for a couple of hours after the bracket is released. But as we were heading to break, and thank you to Jim Root of the Three Man Weave, The Athletic, and the Action Network for joining us in the last segment, handicapping all of tonight's games in college hoops and a little bit of tomorrow as well. As we were going to break, PJ, we did get the news from ESPN's Pete Thamel, and Duke men's basketball also tweeted it out as well. And it's what we all thought. It's pretty much just confirmation at this point. The freshman phenom and potential national player of the year, Cooper Flagg, has been ruled out for tonight's game, the ACC tournament semifinal, as Duke takes on North Carolina. And then also Malik Brown, who aggravated his shoulder injury. He was already had the harness yesterday going, and then you could see him grabbing that same shoulder. He is out as well. So Flagg and Brown, like, Brown is obviously not the household name, but is a really good defender. Like, he's one of their better defenders. Flagg might be their best defender. So a couple of defenders out for Duke, and obviously Flagg can do a lot more than just defend, but those guys are out for Duke tonight against UNC. The betting market right now is pretty much status quo, because I think everybody anticipated that this would happen. Head coach John Shire earlier today said that it's unlikely that he'll play. So no crazy movement right now in the betting market, and we'll see where this number goes as we get closer to tip-off. But PJ, no Cooper Flagg. We thought that this would happen, but it is now confirmed for tonight's game, Duke-UNC tipping off at 7 Eastern.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Femi, no surprise. Even if, like, he was okay to play, you don't play him. I mean, there's
what's
no
the point?
There's no point, right? Obviously, everything that matters is happening next week in the NCAA tournament. So, I think we won't see him again until the tournament. We might not even see him again until the round of 32, Femi, because let's be honest, I would hope you wouldn't need Cooper Flagg to beat the 16 seed, whoever it is that Duke ends up playing. So, yeah, I mean, do you think for sure he's playing? Like, what percentage? Obviously, we have no idea. I mean, it's all speculation at this point. We're only seeing what's being reporting and, like, pictures and all that. But, like, what percentage would you put it at that he plays in the NCAA tournament? Like, would you put it at, like, 85, 90? Like, are you pretty certain, or is it more like 60, 70 for you?
I'm pretty certain he's going to play in the NCAA tournament. The question is just, when does he play? I think that's the key question here. Like, is it Friday? Because, like, Duke is going to be in the Raleigh site, and the Raleigh games are Friday, Sunday, which they kind of do catch a break there, getting that extra day. It's not a Thursday, Saturday setup. It's a Friday, Sunday setup, so that's key for his rehab process. I mean, maybe they want to have him go out there and play against the 16 seed. Like you, they don't need him. And if you lose to a 16 without Cooper Flagg, guess what you weren't going to do? Win the national title. You were never going to win the title if you can't beat the 16 seed without Cooper Flagg. So I think that they err on the side of caution. My guess is that we see him Sunday, but that's just me guessing. Like, I have no inside information. I'm not a doctor. I'm just speculating based on, like, what I would do if I was in that position and I was running the Duke men's basketball program. I would say, put this kid on ice, let him rest up. Let's see you Sunday in the round of 32 when we take on, like, an actual legit team that could maybe give us a scare. So that's kind of how I think it plays out, but you never know. I mean, he's also, like, 18 years old, barely. Like, I think he just turned 18, so maybe he's a fast healer, and who knows? Maybe they beat North Carolina tonight. We see him tomorrow in the ACC championship game. Probably be a little bit foolish, but he could pound the table and say he wants to play. These guys are competitors, so I would guess that he doesn't play this weekend, and maybe we don't see him until the end of next weekend in the second round. But what do you think happens in this particular market tonight against North Carolina, though? Because I think, like, a lot of, if you've been paying any attention to college basketball, and even if you haven't been, like you understand that Cooper Flagg is injured. Like it's been a top story on all the big shows. It's been a top story on Twitter. Like everyone's tweeting about it because he is like the next guy, the next coming for Americans-born star basketball players. And a lot of people at NBA circles have been talking about this Cooper Flagg injury as well. Like, do you think that we're going to get a lot of recreational money the closer we get to tip-off saying, oh, you know what, I want to bet North Carolina plus the points because Carolina needs this game to try to make the NCAA tournament? Like, that's the biggest headline for the Tar Heels purposes, is that, like, they need to win just to get in. But then also, hey, it's Duke without their best player. Maybe this is Duke banged up a little bit. Like, do you think we're going to see Carolina money, or do you think that all the Carolina money has already been baked into the market because we all anticipated that you would not be playing tonight?
I think it's going to be a pros versus Joes game. I think the sharp money is going to be on Duke. I think the public's going to be on UNC for everything that you were saying, right? You just break down the game and you think about it and you're like, okay, one game needs this game, and that's Carolina. And the other team is just kind of playing for pride, right? They're just kind of playing to be playing. And that's obviously Duke. And then it's the fact that Duke's missing the best player in the country and he impacts the game in every facet. So, yeah, I certainly think there's a case for North Carolina, but again, Femi, you and I love betting into these spots. You call it the fallen hero, right? Especially in college. Especially in college. In the NFL, I mean, there's so much money that goes into those markets. And obviously now that we reach this point in the college season, there's a lot of money going into these games too. But it's tougher to grade how much like a college player means to a line, right? Like a lot of times you see bookmakers struggling to do that with college quarterbacks. You see it in college basketball as well. So I think the projected line with Cooper Flagg was around like 13, 14, and now it's down to 7.5. So, I mean, they think this guy's worth a whole heck of a lot, which makes sense. I mean, I think he's worth that much too. But I like Duke. I think we're getting a buy low here on Duke. And I think like this almost motivates Duke even more. You know what I mean? Like those other players, right? They get an opportunity. A lot of these guys who wouldn't get a chance to play against North Carolina, isn't that a big reason you go to Duke, is to play against UNC and play in those games? And a lot of those kids, you know, who wouldn't get a chance to play as much if Cooper Flagg was healthy are going to get a chance to play today. So I think it's an underrated, like, motivational spot for Duke. Like, we all see the angle for UNC, but I think in a weird way, Femi, like the Cooper Flagg injury almost like motivates the rest of the Duke roster more. So I like that. I also took Con Knipple over 18.5 points for people who are able to bet player props in their states. 2 player props I really like tonight. That's one because he had 28 yesterday. Femi, I was watching after the game. He goes over to the ACC desk and he's sitting with like Joe Barry and all these guys. And he's like, yeah, coach basically told me at halftime, like, I gotta take over. Like they're coming to me, like I gotta score. So, and that was just for one half. So I think for the full game, obviously Con Knipple's going to be in attack mode tonight. So I like his over 18.5 points as well.
There we go. Con Knipple over on the points prop for tonight's game between North Carolina and Duke. And I agree with you. I think like both of these teams are highly motivated. Like, you know, like this could be an exhibition game in July. It could be the national title game in early April, or the Final Four that we saw a couple of years ago, actually, between these two teams. But like you don't need much to get these guys motivated when they see that other jersey on the other side, and it's like, oh, like I'm a Duke player and I see a North Carolina jersey. It's go time. Like, let's go. Let's get after these dudes. Like, yeah, like we care about this game as much as any game all season long. I think they'll be very motivated to try to win this game and win it big. And also maybe it's a win one for the Gipper kind of a thing. Like let's win it for Coop. Huh? Let's do that.
Exactly.
Let's cut down the nets in Charlotte for Cooper Flagg, even though he's only going to be with the team for like one more month and go off to the NBA. Like this is, I think, a very much win it for him kind of a scenario. So yeah, like early thoughts for me. Spoiler alert: we're going to do all our bets from Gambling Night in America at 6:40 Eastern time. I like Duke tonight, and I'm waiting to see what we see in the market because, like, right now there's a couple 6.5s that are out there. 7 is still the consensus number. There's like some 7 minus 105. I'm hoping people come in and bet North Carolina so I can get as good a number as possible on the Duke Blue Devils. So that's our thoughts. North Carolina Duke. Once again, if you're just joining us now, Cooper Flagg, the freshman phenom, ruled out for tonight's game in the ACC tournament semifinal. Duke taking on North Carolina. To update folks on our live sweat here, PJ. Curious to see how you're feeling. Texas, Tennessee. My feed is probably a little bit behind yours, but right now I have Tennessee 67, Texas 56 with about 7.5 minutes to play. We are plus 10 with Texas. I also have a little bit of Texas money line. Not sure how that's going to get there, but hoping they at least can somehow fall within the number. But Texas looks like they're a little bit rattled, at least offensively, in this second half.
Yeah, I think we're cooked, Femi. I think we're cooked, to be honest with you.
No optimism. You can't even like sell it. Like sell it. Give me a sell job, man. Like let me believe that we have a chance.
Texas played a really good first half. They were able to score 33, 35 points on Tennessee, who's got the number one defense in college basketball. They only give up 62 points per game. They had a really good first half. For them to still be trailing by 3 at intermission, and now Tennessee's starting to pull away a little bit. Tennessee's not shooting the ball like great either. They're kind of having one of their off Tennessee shooting nights, which is what we needed as a 10-point dog. And for them to still be up 11, I just, Texas in these games that they've won against Vandy and against A&M, they've either been in the lead or they've kind of been in striking distance. Now that they're kind of in trail mode and they're trying to catch up, this isn't a team that really shoots the 3 ball all that well. So I fear we're in some danger here. So I'm expecting the worst, but I'll be hoping for the best here with Texas. I don't feel good though, Femi. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel great. They're down 11, so they're right there. Like, if you laid the points with Tennessee, you're probably not feeling like giddy if you laid the points with Tennessee, but I would guess you feel a little bit better than how we feel as people who bet the Texas Longhorns. It's I'm trying to spin it to where we can maybe sort of cover this number, and who knows, maybe Texas gets hot. But Chaz Lanier has been a problem, as the kids say. He a problem. Chaz Lanier is a problem for Texas. He has 22 points. There's still 7:25 left to go in the game. It's not looking great for Texas, and maybe they just run out of gas. And who knows? Maybe the first half bet on Texas, which first half bets have been killing me until today with Wisconsin. Maybe it was Texas first half and then leave the full game alone, because it does feel like they've lost a little bit of steam after we saw them go double OT with A&M yesterday and also play a game prior to that as well. Texas has been through some wars and obviously the best conference in America.
Yeah, and we'll see if they did enough to get themselves in the tournament. If they don't win this game today, I saw Lenardi had them as the last team in. They're going to be sweating. If it comes down to Oklahoma and Texas, Femi, those two teams.
Oh man,
I mean, what do you do? Who
Red River Bubble.
Red River Bubble. Both their first year in the SEC, and it comes down to them. I mean, I don't know what you do. So I think you got to give Texas a little benefit of the doubt. The fact that they are obviously playing a third game, whereas Oklahoma only got to play 2. But yeah, Texas, I think if they won today, they would have been in. Today, I think everybody would agree would have been the win that kind of puts you in. Lose this game, and it becomes real dicey on Selection Sunday. And, if Texas and Oklahoma, I think, are two teams that if they do get in, I think they're intriguing teams. Because, Femi, it feels like every year in the tournament, there's always a first 4, last team in that always goes to the second weekend. And it's always a team that we kind of perceive is really, really bad. Look, especially if it's Oklahoma, that's a team that's got some really good neutral site wins. They beat Arizona, they beat Michigan, they beat Louisville on a neutral. They obviously had that win over Georgia in the SEC tournament. They were up with 5 seconds to go against Kentucky. So the Sooners erase their record in SEC play because, you got travel and certain things going that way. When you look what they did on the non-con, what they did at some of these neutral site games, the fact that Porter Moser is their head coach, he's been to a Final Four with Loyola Chicago. The Sooners are a team that I would want to see in, because that's a team that I think, especially depending on what their Sweet 16 price is, I could see myself dabbling, they get the right draw with them, maybe to win a couple games.
I'm looking at the Gaming Juice right now, which, of course, is the website of our BetMGM Network teammate, Brad Evans, who is a bracketologist, a certified bracketologist. He wrote this about the Oklahoma Sooners, who he currently has as a 10 seed. He said, any doubts about the Sooners not deserving an at-large were silenced versus Georgia. Strength of schedule and 5 quad 1 wins seals it. So he's Oklahoma's in for sure. And then Texas, he has as an 11 seed and says, what's the point of conference tournaments if Texas does not get in? Honestly, a legit question. They should dance. So we'll see. I mean, that's Brad Evans' opinion, who is our resident bracketologist here on BetMGM Network. But I think that Texas, maybe they've done enough. Like, obviously, they could get the credit from being in a tough conference, but right now, it's not going to be a very fun Sunday afternoon if you're a Texas Longhorns fan. Like, I don't think it's going to be fun. And who knows what happens later on tonight, tomorrow, with all the conference championship games, and, of course, the handful of ones that we get on Sunday. You could have potential bid stealers to where, like, yeah, you might have safely been in. Boom, all of a sudden you're out because some team just stole a bid that had no business going to the tournament, wins their conference tournament, and goes in as an AQ automatic qualifier. So Texas, hook 'em horns. Maybe let's just win today and remove all doubt. Let's do that, shall we? The money line, that also get there as well if that ultimately gets home for the Longhorns. All right, on the other side, we'll turn our attention to the NBA and also give you an update of what's going on in the Players' Championship. That's all coming up next year to wrap up hour number 3 on You Better You Bet.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-444-9336. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-444-9336. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-444-9336. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-444-9336, 800-444-9336, or biglou.com.
Empower. Tim collects bobbleheads. A lot of bobbleheads. Baseball bobbleheads. Race car bobbleheads. Little Chihuahua bobbleheads. He's got an entire room strictly for bobbleheads. Does he need them? No. Is his wife mad about it? A little. But Tim works with Empower, and he got good at money, so he can be a little bad. Ooh, horse bobblehead. Classy, Tim. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Start today at empower.com.
Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi, golf's newest league. It's sharp and it's electric. 2 hours of hammer dropping, overtime forcing, playoffs on the line golf, with 24 of the best players from the PGA Tour. Playoffs are here, Monday, March 17th. 1 seed LA versus 4 seed New York at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2 and ESPN+. Tuesday, March 18th, 2 seed the Bay versus 3 seed Atlanta at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN and ESPN+. Tune in to catch all the TGL playoff action. Keep up, it's golf.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. If you have open roles, chances are you're feeling this too. That's why you need Robert Half. Our specialized recruiting professionals engage their skills with our award-winning AI to connect businesses of all sizes with highly skilled talent in finance and accounting, technology, marketing and creative, legal and administrative, and customer support. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today. Thanks for calling Discover. This is Nia.
Hi, Nia. It's Jennifer. Did you know that Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, I work here.
Okay. I was just double checking. Get it?
Because Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Oh, you get me, Nia.
You could say that I double get you.
I guess we've taken it too far.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
The best day for great deals on everything for spring is one day, as in the Macy's One Day Sale. Find the best prices of the month on spring essentials, from handbags starting at $49.99 to sheets starting at just $9.99. From 40 to 50% off new looks for the family to 40 to 50% off mattresses from Serta and more. And you can earn rewards even faster during Star Money bonus days. It's a day that's unlike any other day. The Macy's One Day Sale, today. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing then another. And don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation. But then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
Brad Evans and Ryan Horvath get you ready to bet the diamond.
I think Brent Rooker is going to be cooking in the dish. He is the dark horse candidate to lead the league in home runs at 30-1. Plus hitter ballpark, trailing the right direction for the advanced analytics. Brent Rooker, he might hit like 45 or 50 bombs this year. Have a career year. So 30-1, worth a little sprinkle.
Lock in your futures before opening day.
Here's my favorite future. Julio Rodriguez, MVP in the American League. 22-1 right now at BetMGM. Last year, he got off to a slow start. Then they hired Edgar Martinez as the interim hitting coach, and he took off. The last 34 games of the season, he hit .313, 9 homers, and had a .902 OPS. I kind of like this price right now.
Swing for the fences with BetMGM tonight with Brad Evans and Ryan Horvath every weeknight from 7 to 11 Eastern on the BetMGM network.
Let's get back to You Better You Bet on the BetMGM network.
Welcome back. This is You Better You Bet here on the BetMGM network. Femi Abebefe, PJ Glasser, as we are sweating out games on Conference Tournament Friday. Currently sweating out Texas and Tennessee. Both PJ and I are on the Longhorns. PJ has 10.5. I have 10. But Tennessee currently leads by 12. 3:43 left to go in regulation. I also have some Texas money line, so I was hoping that Texas could win the game. At this point, I'll just settle for the cover, baby. So hopefully the Longhorns can get there, as we'll be sweating this out as we are nearing the NBC Sports Now Power Hour, 6 o'clock. We'll be breaking down all of the evening games of college hoops, which the evening slate, like the afternoon slate's been good. The evening slate is great, like legit matchups headlined by Duke, North Carolina in the ACC tournament, that semifinal game. No Cooper Flagg for the Blue Devils. He has been ruled out for that one. Duke right now a 7-point favorite in that game. So we'll be breaking down all those games, in addition to having our guest, Vaughn Dalzell, our NBC and Peacock sports betting analyst, our teammate here at the network. He will help us break down some of those games as well and give us some of the bets that he likes. And then we will close things out with Gambling Night in America, bets from all across sports, NBA, NHL, college basketball. We'll get to that to wrap up the show. But PJ, I wanted to hit some of the results from last night in the NBA, a couple of them in particular out of the Pacific Division that I thought were really, really interesting. The first one, the Golden State Warriors, they win their 6th straight game, beating Sacramento 130-104. Steph Curry, the headliner, making his 4,000th career three-pointer against the Sacramento Kings. So 4,000 threes for Steph Curry, the all-time three-point leader, the greatest shooter in basketball history. I don't care what all the old-timers say. Steph is the greatest shooter in basketball history. 4,000 threes. Jonathan Kuminga, he scored 18 points off the bench in his first game back from the ankle injury. The Warriors have it rolling, and they are now whole, and they look very, very dangerous. And for Steph Curry to do that last night, I think that this team in the month of March can really start to take off. As we're all paying attention to college basketball, don't sleep on what's going on in the NBA, especially with the Golden State Warriors.
I mean, Steph he's been unbelievable. You know, Femi, I feel I've done the show with you a couple times, and we've talked about LeBron and how incredible he still is at this age. It's incredible what Steph is doing. And, you know, Steph, the way that his career, Femi, started out with all the injuries, right? When he came out of Davidson and he started his career with Golden State, Steph was the guy who was labeled as like he could just never stay healthy, right? And then he finally did. And we saw that player that we all like fell in love with when we saw him in the tournament at Davidson, right? When he was just jacking up all them threes and he led him to the Elite Eight. So he's, I agree with you. He's the best shooter of all time. It's just unbelievable and just completely changed the game of basketball and the way that it's going to be played and how, you know, just it's obviously become such a perimeter game and the way that it's not only catch and shoot with him, but so many of his threes have come off the dribble as well. He's my favorite basketball player to watch. He's must-watch TV. He's such good entertainment. And like we talk about the shooting with Steph too, but his playmaking ability, the way he can get to the rim, his passing, and his conditioning too, Femi. Like the guy never gets tired. To hit that many threes, I mean, how conditioned you have to be. you watch a Warriors game and Steph Curry, he is constantly running around the entire game. He's running around screens. He's running around from the left side to the right side, all over. It's incredible. And what's incredible is how many more threes he has than James Harden, who's in second place too. And obviously both guys are just still going. So Steph's amazing. It's just awesome been able to watch his entire career. And the moment that he gave us this summer out in Paris with that 3 against France was just like an all-timer as well. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, hit us with the night. He hit France with the night on that one as we won gold out there in Paris. The golden dagger, as Noah Eagle called it on the 3-point make there against France in the gold medal game. So the Warriors, they're surging. They're currently plus 750 to win the Western Conference over at BetMGM. And simultaneously happening right now, like you speak about LeBron James and how great he's been. Well, LeBron has a groin injury and he's missed a couple of games. And the Lakers, I should say, have now lost 3 straight games. They lost last Saturday to the Boston Celtics. They lost earlier this week to the Brooklyn Nets. And then most recently last night, 126-106 against the Milwaukee Bucks. So the Lakers have been reeling after having this 7-game winning streak to where it looked like they were going to run away with the Pacific Division, PJ. They were minus 2,000 when I looked at the odds last week. Today, minus 200 to win the Pacific Division. So the Lakers they've lost 3 straight. The Warriors have won 6 straight. Golden State now plus 170 to win the Pacific. Clippers 40-1 as a long shot. But when you look at the Lakers' upcoming schedule, because LeBron's going to miss tonight's game, he's back in LA. The team is in Denver taking on the Nuggets as LeBron tries to continue to rehab this groin injury. But Sunday, they host the Suns. Then on Monday, they host the Spurs. Next Wednesday, they host the Nuggets. And then next Thursday, they host the Bucks. So they do have a homestand coming up. I'm guessing LeBron will be right for that homestand. But boy, this thing, it can really get tight in the Pacific Division, where the Lakers currently are 4 games up in the loss column. But if things trend how they have been going without LeBron and the Warriors keep rolling, we could be talking about this race going down to the final week of the season. Like, there could be, like, PJ, do you think there's a bet to be made right now, Lakers-Warriors, where it's minus 200 plus 170 to win the division?
I don't at this point, Femi. I think you missed the boat, probably earlier this week. Certainly built into the price is the fact that LeBron isn't 100%. Now, like you said, we expect him to return here soon. But the fact that the Warriors have won 6 in a row, 9 of their last 10, the Lakers have lost 3 in a row after winning 7 straight, it almost feels like now you're kind of like you want to be selling a little bit on Golden State. So I think you kind of missed the boat at this point. But yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that I think this race is going to be close and it's going to come down to the end in the final weekend of the regular season. Motivation for both teams. Obviously, Golden State is trying to stay out of that 7 through 10 range where they don't have to do the play-in tournament. And the Lakers, I mean, you want to try and get that 2 or 3 seed so you can avoid Oklahoma City as long as possible. So both teams have motivation. Also, both teams made the big trade deadline acquisitions. Lakers obviously getting Luka, the Warriors getting Jimmy. So not only do they want to continue getting reps with each other and build the chemistry heading into the playoffs, I think also the motivation, just jockeying for position and trying to avoid OKC, trying to avoid the play-in tournament. I think you're going to get, good efforts from both teams down the stretch. So for me, the fact that I think the Lakers are going to be trying to win games here down the stretch and they're not going to really be resting guys or load managing, I don't see much of a bet on Golden State at plus 275 when you could have gotten a better number, last week.
Yeah, if anything, maybe it's like LeBron misses a couple more games and like minus 200 turns to like minus 175, and you can potentially bet the Lakers at minus 175 because when LeBron gets back, I'm assuming they're going to go ahead and hold on to winning that division. But if Golden State just never loses again, I mean, shoot, who knows? Maybe the Warriors can run them down. They do play once again later this month. And that'll be the last meeting between the two teams this regular season. All right, let's turn our attention to what's going on with the PGA Tour. And to do that, we have to bring in our golf aficionado, the one and only Tyler Morales. Nick is not here. Nick is coming off of the outright of Russell Henley last week at Bay Hill. Tyler's trying to get to the winning circle this week. And we're shaping up to be a rather interesting weekend at the Players where your co-leader, you bet favorite, Minwoo Lee, at 11 under, he is tied with Akshay Bhatia, JJ Spawn 10 under, Rory McIlroy, Colin Morikawa at 9 under, Alex Smalley at 8 under. If those names sound familiar, 3 of those names were given out by Tyler on Wednesday during golf bets. Tyler, how are we feeling heading into the weekend at the Players?
Not gonna lie, I'm tilting pretty hard watching Minwoo Lee do this thing, considering we've been in the last 2 weeks. Like I said, we will never say his name on the show again, and here we are, he's leading the Players. I mean, I feel pretty good. I have the 2 betting favorites going into the weekend and a chaser at 165-1. Like you'd think I'd be sitting well, but the way this season's gone, like maybe we get a Minwoo Lee win, unfortunately, but I feel great. I think either Rory or Colin's going to win this. I'll stick to my guns. They're both the betting favorites. I expect both of them to be in contention, and well, hopefully it'll melt down on one of the last holes, but I feel pretty good at where we are.
Who do you think wins the tournament? Like, if you had to pick one person, like Rory, Colin, maybe it's, I mean, Smalley would be just, like, we're doing, like, party like, in the streets if Smalley wins this thing. But, like, is it Minwoo Lee who's been, like, due to win? And, like, that looks like now he might be having his breakout tournament. Who do you think wins on Sunday?
I actually think Morikawa is going to win, coming off of that meltdown last week. I feel like he's having kind of like the Xander season. Like Xander came in second place last year. Rory chased him down, and then ended up winning the next week. I kind of think that's the exact thing we're setting up for here with the Colin Morikawa win here, and then just him setting up for his Masters win, which been calling for the past few months. So I think Morikawa is going to win this. I think it's going to be him and Rory at the end, and maybe hopefully Smalley or one of these other chasers like Batia maybe. I think Morikawa's going to get the win after last week and win the Masters in a month.
All right, there we go. That's our golf update from the Players from Tyler Morales, as we'll be sweating this all throughout the weekend. Before we wrap up this final hour, let's go ahead and welcome in our executive producer, Bill Zimmerman, with our social question today, which on the heels of Steph Curry making three-pointer number 4,000 last night, we want to know from everybody the most unbreakable record among current athletes. Bill, what did the people have to say?
All right, let me jump in here for you, Femi and PJ. All right, we gave him 4 choices on the poll. Steph Curry, he's got 4,000 career three-pointers made. LeBron James, career points in the NBA. Of course, he's up near 42,000 career points. Tiger Woods had that most consecutive cuts made, which was 142. And Alex Ovechkin, we projected a little. Obviously, he doesn't have the record yet from Gretzky. He's a few goals short there, but, you know, by the end of this season or very early next season, he should have it. So here's the results. Ovechkin coming in last, probably a little hockey bias there, 16.5% of the vote. I always like to look at, like, who else is around. He's going to finish with over 900 career goals. The only other one besides Gretzky over 800 career goals is Gordie Howe, 801, and he played, like, 35 years. That's not even an exaggeration. Steph Curry, 16.9% of the vote. I get it. A lot of threes are made nowadays. Maybe that one makes sense to be that low. But, you know, he's at 4,000 threes. I think he easily eclipses 5,000 threes before he finishes here. In fact, Femi and I were looking at it. He's had multiple seasons, like 5 or 6 seasons, where he had more threes in that season than Larry Bird had his entire career. Tiger Woods won this thing. LeBron James comes in second, 30.2% of the vote. Obviously, that makes sense there. Tiger Woods, 36.4% of the vote. Of course, he had about 40 more cuts than Byron Nelson and Jack Nicklaus, so a huge lead there.
So Tiger wins the poll. PJ, real quick, which one would you have voted for?
I voted Tiger. I think that's the most impressive one. You same with you?
That's what I voted for too. I voted Tiger as well. 142 like made cuts.
That's what I'm saying. Femi, it just takes one bad week to be terrible and miss the cut, and for him to never do that, ridiculous.
Well, let's get a good 52 seconds from the Texas Longhorns, who are down 9 against Tennessee. All right, the NBC Sports Now Power Hour coming at you next here on You Better You Bet.
We'll be right back with You Better You Bet, presented by Bet.
All power, zero compromise. Ego cordless outdoor power equipment features advanced lithium battery technology that exceeds the power and performance of gas without the noise, fuss, or fumes. From blowers and trimmers to mowers and pressure washers, one battery powers over 90 tools. No wonder it is the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power. Power beyond belief. Visit egopowerplus.com to learn more or to find an Ego retailer near you. That's egopowerplus.com.
Are you a parent of a 2 to 8-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting offer, then head to abcmouse.com/radio to learn more. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
We're offering a promo at abcmouse.com/radio to try it for free for a month, then $14.99 per month until canceled. Go to abcmouse.com/radio to see this offer. That's abcmouse.com/radio. Actual ABC Mouse users compensate for their testimonials, sponsored by Agent.
The best day for great deals on everything for spring is one day, as in the Macy's One Day Sale. Find the best prices of the month on spring essentials, from handbags starting at $49.99 to sheets starting at just $9.99. From 40 to 50% off new looks for the family to 40 to 50% off mattresses from Serta and more. And you can earn rewards even faster during Star Money bonus days. It's a day that's unlike any other day. The Macy's One Day Sale. Today. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing then another. And don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation. But then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
Geico gives you more coverage, combining all your car coverage needs, from flats to fender benders to dead batteries to towing. It's a total car coverage combination, kind of like a combination of Ranchera, 8-bit video game music, and a high school choir on helium. Hey, I'd stream that song. Whatever you need, from coverage to service, get more with Geico.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. If you have open roles, chances are you're feeling this too. That's why you need Robert Half. Our specialized recruiting professionals engage their skills with our award-winning AI to connect businesses of all sizes with highly skilled talent in finance and accounting, technology, marketing and creative, legal and administrative, and customer support. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Nia.
Hi, Nia. It's Jennifer. Did you know that Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, I work here.
Okay. I was just double checking. Get it?
Because Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Oh, you get me, Nia.
You could say that I double get you.
I guess we've taken it too far.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
A guy like Rick Pitino or a Tom Izzo or a Cooper Flagg, these storylines are important to the committee, and that's why we see coaches meeting up against their former teams, or a guy that transferred to one team and now he's playing against the other team, if that's possible.
The Daily Tip, morning 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern from the BetMGM Network, America's home for wagertainment. Presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app today. Please gamble responsibly. Starts your day with a Daily Tip featuring Michael Jenkins and Chelsea Messenger. Weekday morning, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern on the BetMGM Network.
Right now, it feels like the OGs of the NBA are absolutely killing it. Because not just Steph Curry, LeBron James, we want to anoint these young teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, who the average age of their starting five, I think, is like 24 years old. But I think some of these older guys who are in their 30s, they say, not so fast, my friend. There are still some of us that you might have to deal with. And the Warriors are one of those teams. And this was one of the rhetorics that we've been throwing around about Jimmy Butler as well. He's 35 years old. Think about Tom Brady. He definitely wouldn't have won a Super Bowl if he didn't go to a team ready-made. So it feels like the same goes kind of with Jimmy Butler, is that he goes to the Golden State Warriors and he doesn't have to be the guy.
The Daily Tip, morning 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern from the BetMGM Network, America's home for wagertainment. Presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app today. Please gamble responsibly.
This is The Bet, WEEI, 850 AM, Boston. Part of the BetMGM Network. An Odyssey sports station and Boston's home for wagertainment. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Out with you guys on this Friday, which has been turned into a sweaty Friday for those of you watching the SEC tournament down in Nashville between Texas and Tennessee. My goodness, just one of those beats that you just look up and say, welcome to March, folks. Welcome to March.
Why would they foul? Why would they foul with 8 seconds left? The coach was trying to tell them to call off the dogs.
We laugh through the pain. We laugh through the pain, PJ, is what we do. For those of you who are just joining us now, welcome. You bet. We've had a fun 3 hours on the show. PJ doing a great job filling in for Nick Costos. Nick will be back on Sunday with You Better You Bet's countdown to tip-off as Nick Costos, Brad Evans break down the bracket post-selection Sunday show release. So they'll be talking all the betting ramifications, the point spreads for all the games in the round of 64, as well as to bet the region and bet the national title markets, all that stuff. But let's talk about what really has been at the top of our minds right now, which is Texas and Tennessee. And PJ is saying, why would they foul? And here was the scenario. Tennessee had a 9-point lead with 10 seconds to go. At that point, you think, hey, game's over. What are we doing here? Tennessee looked content just dribbling the ball out, and Texas on the sidelines were saying, hey, don't foul. And one of the Texas players fouls, and Tennessee ends up winning by 11. So that's our situation down in Nashville. We're both losers. PJ had 10.5. I had 10. Also had a little bit of money line, but the spread is what really was in doubt with this game. And once again, college basketball gods taketh away, PJ.
Femi, that one, man. That one was tough. First off, it like, you asked me if I felt good about it a couple segments ago, and I told you, like, no, just the way this game was going. I thought Tennessee was going to win by 15. Texas, to their credit, though, just kept hanging around. We got a shooter for Texas who was fouled on a 3-pointer, cut it to a 7-point game, and that's what we were looking for. We thought if they could get it to 7, then if Tennessee pushed it to 9, they would call it off. They wouldn't foul anymore. And that's what they were trying to do. They got it to 9. Texas didn't want to foul. Rodney Terry was even mad at his player for fouling. He is a man of the people. Shout out to Rodney. He knew what was up. He knew what was happening in that moment.
He said the boosters.
Jordan Pope, though. I mean, God bless. The kid did so good knocking down all 3 of those free throws and then just threw it all away. Femi. That's tough, dude. We were riding high after Wisconsin. That was a no sweat first half, full game, beautiful. Oh, Texas, that was tough. That was
PJ. This is now back-to-back days for me with this is not on the same level as what happened yesterday with Xavier and Marquette. Like, I laid 2.5 with Marquette. They're up 5, and there's 2 seconds left on the clock, and then Xavier banks in a 3 to lose by 2, and everyone on Marquette's all giddy and smiling because they win and they move on to the semifinals later on tonight, and I'm sitting here with no money in my pocket. It's not as bad as that, but this was just very annoying, very, very annoying that you would, and that's honestly though, and we shouldn't be surprised because this is a conference tournament game. And we see kids in college basketball foul when they're down by a ridiculous amount of points. In this instance, fouling down 9 with 10 seconds to go, what's the scenario there? How do you win that game? Honestly, I don't even think there's physically enough time left for you to actually bang in 3 3-pointers and the other team to miss all their free throws. There's actually no path to victory. So what are we doing? And the kid fouls anyway. He fouls anyway.
I guess there's a 10-point play we don't know about, or something must be.
Half court heave, 10 points, and must be.
Oh, that was tough. That was tough.
It's that's how we begin the NBC Sports Now Power Hour.
Welcome
here
in, hello
on this
everyone.
Friday.
Yes,
vibes are high.
Yes,
we're hoping the vibes are high later on tonight, but we do have a fun hour in store for everybody because 15 minutes from now, we'll be joined by our teammate here on NBC and Peacock, sports betting analyst Von Dalzell, as he will try to help us get our money back with tonight's slate in college hoops, including Dayton St. Joe's, which will also be on Peacock at 7:30 Eastern Time, as well as in the Big Ten between Purdue and Michigan. Then 40 minutes from now, Gambling Night in America. PJ and I giving out all of our bets across sports, NBA, NHL. Obviously, a very heavy college basketball card with a great slate that we have tonight. But want to put off college basketball to the side for now, at least. We'll get back to it coming up in the next segment with Vaughn. PJ, we did get a little bit of breaking news out of the National Football League earlier this afternoon. And this one from Cincinnati, where NFL Network's Tom Pelissero, their insider, reporting that the Cincinnati Bengals are closing in on not 1, but 2 extensions for their wide receivers, for Jamar Chase and for T. Higgins. ESPN's NFL insider Adam Schefter reporting that Jamar Chase is looking to top Myles Garrett's $40 million contract, and that's where this thing will end up, to where it's between $40.1 million per year and $41 million per year. But it looks like the Cincinnati Bengals are going to keep their offensive core together, which is what Joe Burrow has been campaigning for since the word go this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, we know that the Bengals offense is good enough to win the whole thing. I mean, Burrow was good enough to win the MVP last year. Chase was spectacular. Higgins, when he was available. I mean, you can't stop that offense. When they're all healthy, Chase Brown emerged as a good running back for them as well. But defensively is what's going to take Cincinnati to the next level. It put so much pressure on their offense to be perfect, because they had to feel like just to be in a game, just to win a game, they had to score 30, close to 40 points. And that's the big question mark, Femi, is obviously you got to pay Jamar Chase top dollar. He's arguably the best receiver in the NFL. You got to pay T. Higgins if you want to keep him. He's good enough to be a wide receiver one in the NFL. They've already paid Burrow. So this is what happens, like this is what you want. You want to draft good players so that you can re-sign them. But also you got to make sure that you're re-signing players on both sides of the ball. And obviously by committing all this money to Chase and to Higgins, they're going to have to let Trey Hendrickson walk, who was one of the best pass rushers in football last year. So the one bright spot you had on defense, you're no longer going to have that guy anymore. You're bringing in a new DC, and Al Golden, who was great for Notre Dame last year. We'll see what he can do for the Bengals this upcoming season. But yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, Zach Taylor, I think you and I are in agreement. I don't really think that highly of him. Don't really think he's all that great of a head coach. It's not like he's exactly maximizing the talent around him. So he's an offensive guy to begin with, and I don't feel like you really need like that much of an offensive genius to make that Bengals offense work with all that pieces that they have. You need a good coach, you need a good defensive coordinator, and then you need to hit on some draft picks to elevate this team on the defensive side of the ball. So I can't really get involved with Cincinnati this upcoming season, until I see what they do the rest of the offseason, how they add to the defense, what they do in the draft as well. And then I also have to see, Femi, like how they start a season, man. This has been kind of what's been killing them throughout the Burrow era is Burrow's never had a normal offseason. It feels like he's always been dealing with something. He's always had some kind of injury. Well, this was the offseason this past year where he was finally good, and the Bengals start 0-3. So now coming into this year, he should be good again. He should have his top weapons back, and Zach Taylor's on the hot seat. So if the Bengals can't get off to a good start this year, I mean, I don't know when they're ever going to do it. So that'll be a big key for them, too, this upcoming season.
And you know what's interesting? It feels like that the betting market just assumes that they're just going to be, bounce back team. Like they missed the playoffs the last 2 years. I don't know if people realize that the Cincinnati Bengals have not been in the playoffs since a couple of years when they went to the AFC title game and they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. It's been 2 years since we've seen them in the postseason. And right now, they're the sixth choice in the betting market over at BetMGM. 16-1. To win the Super Bowl, only behind the likes of the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles, the Ravens, Bills, Chiefs, and Lions. High expectations for a team that last year could not stop a nosebleed. And what has happened this offseason? They got rid of their defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, and brought in Al Golden. But all we've seen them do is lose players on the defensive side of the ball. Sam Hubbard, their second best pass rusher, he retired at the age of 29. Their best pass rusher, Trey Hendrickson, they already came out and said that they have granted him permission to seek a trade. And it feels like he's going to be traded at some point over the next couple of weeks. So you lose your two best pass rushers from a defense that was already giving up a boatload of points. And in an NFL draft where they don't have like a high draft pick, so you really can't overhaul this defense in one draft, in the draft where everyone is saying there's not that many impact players to begin with. So I just don't see the avenue for the Bengals to make that quantum leap defensively, which is needed to ultimately fulfill some of these expectations of Super Bowl contending team. I'm not saying they're going to miss the playoffs again. I just don't think that there would be a Super Bowl contending team if this is what the defense is going to look like, and it's going to be trading Trey Hendrickson and losing Sam Hubbard to retirement. So I think right now, I'm kind of out on the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, great, you keep Chase, you keep Higgins, Burrow's happy, that's awesome. You're going to be scoring a boatload of points, but you're also going to give up a boatload of points as well. So I don't see how this is any different than what we saw last year in terms of contending for a Super Bowl. Maybe you win a couple of games here and there more than you did last year and you make the playoffs. Maybe you contend for the division, but you're not contending for a Super Bowl. Not with that defense. That's not a serious NFL defense. Real quick, PJ, another wide receiver in the news that we do have is the former Rams wide receiver, former Super Bowl MVP, Cooper Kupp, who is out there on the open market. Cooper Kupp was thought of as a potential Dallas Cowboy earlier this morning. Then Adam Schefter walked that back and said, you know what, actually the Cowboys are not likely to land Cooper Kupp. But I have seen reports about the Patriots being interested, the Jags maybe being a little bit interested. The Seahawks are the top team that people continue to link Cooper Kupp to since he's from the state of Washington. Does Cooper Kupp at this stage of his career do anything for you from a betting standpoint to where he would move the needle for one of these prospective teams that's looking to get his services?
I think it matters which team he goes to, right? Like, if he goes to Seattle, where he's definitely going to be the number 2 to JSN, I think that's interesting. If he goes to, like, New England, where he's the number 1, and, you know, that doesn't move the needle for me, or if he goes to, like, Tennessee, then it's like, you know, what are we doing there? So I think it could move the needle for me a little bit if he goes to a team with an already established number 1. So, yeah, I still think Cooper Kupp can play a little bit. You know, you certainly worry about him playing, I mean, even like 14 or 15 games. But I still think he can definitely be productive for you. Great third down receiver, great route runner, great hands. So I like Cooper Kupp if he goes to, you know, a team that already has a number 1. I think Seattle would be a great fit. They obviously just lost DK. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I like Cooper Kupp. I think, again, as long as he's not going to one of these teams that are really bad on offense and they don't already have an established weapon, I think a Cooper Kupp move makes sense for a lot of teams.
I kind of think he's cooked. like, not to be the bearer of bad news here, I think he's washed. It just... when the Rams are saying, you know what, we'd rather not, and then like the minute that they let him go, they go sign another receiver, that tells me that like, hey, like we released you because we don't think you can play anymore, but we still believe we have a need, so let's go out there and get Devontae Adams. Like that to me is very, very telling from the Los Angeles Rams, which is a really good front office, a really forward-thinking team as well. Like Les Snead's one of the best evaluators in the NFL, and they did that to a guy that is like best friends with Matthew Stafford and has been one of the faces of like this successful run with Sean McVay as the head coach dating back to 2017. Like, I think that this is just done for Cooper Kupp, and maybe in like a third receiver role, like a number 3, maybe you get 10 to 11 good games out of him, but I don't think you're getting much. Like the injuries have caught up to him, and he was also an older player when he got drafted as well. I think the best of Cooper Kupp is behind us, like even in a more diminished role than what he had this year that he won Offensive Player of the Year and won Super Bowl MVP. Like I don't think he can play anymore. That's just my honest opinion, as harsh as that sounds. Real quick though, PJ. I wanted to get your thoughts on the 2 college basketball games, 2 of the marquee games that we have tipping off here in about 20 minutes. Marquette St. John's.
The Eagles play here. Catch BC football, basketball, baseball, and hockey on WEEI AM, Boston, an Odyssey station. This Odyssey sports broadcast is brought to you by Geico. Switch and save. Get more with Geico.
Champions of the SoCon in 2025. Rebound, Nolan Hickman. And hands it to Ryan Nemhard. Time is run out. And once again, here in Sin City, it's Viva Las Vegas and Viva Los Sacs. Gonzaga reclaims the crown in the WCC.
Newton dribbling the clock away. 1.5 seconds left to go. That's not going to stop the cheering here at Madison Square Garden. UConn, the Big East championship that they'd waited 13 years for the 8th time in program history. UConn wins the Big East tournament title, tying Georgetown for the most all time.
Now, let's head courtside for Westwood One's coverage of College Basketball Conference Championship Week.
From Madison Square Garden in New York City, Westwood One Sports presents Game 1 of the Big East Conference semifinals between the 5th-seeded Marquette Golden Eagles and the top-seeded St. John's Red Storm. Championship week on Westwood One is presented by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit Progressive.com. Hi, everybody. Along with former Seton Hall coach P.J. Carlissimo, I'm Scott Graham. Jason Horowitz joins us shortly from our Westwood One studios. Later on, we've got game number 2 with Creighton taking on UConn in the second game of our doubleheader. But right now, it's time for the number 6 team in the nation, St. John's, the number 25 team, Marquette. These teams, P.J., know each other very well, and there is a vibe. There's always a vibe on Friday night here in the Garden for the Big East semifinals. There is a vibe around this St. John's team right now.
Yeah, there's no question. If retake in New York, if you will, as good a year as the New York Knickerbockers are having, St. John's owns the city right now. They're 10-0 in Madison Square Garden. Rick Pitino, as is his wont, second year when he goes to any school, he just sets the world on fire. This team is an exciting team. They're competitive. They play hard. They relate very well to New York City, and that popularity is going to stay. And they're looking for a first Big East championship in a long time.
Well, Johnny's had a fairly easy time in the quarterfinals with Butler, winning that game by 21 points and kind of running away in the second half. Marquette, the same could not be said. They had to battle every inch of the way to get past Xavier to get here for tonight.
The other 3 games yesterday in the quarterfinals, one was better than the next. It was incredible. The first one got there, we said, wow, that's a great game. Then another one, double overtime. I mean, we were here till well after midnight last night, but it was worth it. 3 really, really competitive, entertaining games, teams coming from behind. This is going to be a competitive game. They just played, a week ago at Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee, and it was a bloodbath. These 2 teams get after it. The officials let them play, hopefully, because if they call every foul, there won't be enough players on either bench to finish the game. But this is going to be a competitive game. It's going to be a battle of 2 teams that do a great job forcing turnovers.
Marquette is also a team that has kind of gone against the norm because you've got a St. John's team that's got 5 transfers. Marquette, they lost 2 big pieces at the end of last year, but pretty much very familiar faces.
The only team in the country that hasn't taken a transfer. This group came in together, that senior group. They arrived on campus with Shaka Smart. This is the 4th year they've been together. They, as we said, don't take transfers. Starting lineup's been the same for every game this year. So what you see is what you get with Marquette, and it's worked out extremely well for the Golden Eagles.
How close did you ever come to starting the same lineup for an entire season?
I don't think I ever got past November without an injury or without me or our assistants wanting to make some changes.
Oh, we've got a lot more to come as we get you ready for Marquette and St. John's, the first of our 2 Big East semifinals here at Madison Square Garden. When we return, Jason Horowitz joins us from our studios. You're listening to Conference Championship Week on Westwood One.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce, spruce, spruce.
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
Welcome to Staples.
I hear Staples prints it all for any business.
You bet, and we'll beat any print quote.
So if I had a pizza place...
Staples can print signs, menus, pizza boxes.
A landscaping business?
Oh, we can print yard signs, T-shirts, brochures.
How about a pizza/landscaping business? I'll call it Dough and Mow.
I like it.
Right now at Staples, get up to $250 off your print purchase. Ends 4/5 exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for offer details. Price match guarantee valid in store and staples.com/print. Visit staples.com/price match for details.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother got life insurance from Ethos and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health
math questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/score. Ethos.com/score.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Build month.
Greg is a real Prevagen user, and this is his story.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm not an actor. I'm just a regular person. 8 years ago, I just didn't feel like I was on my game. I started taking Prevagen, and I want people to know that Prevagen has worked for me. Give it a try. I want it to help you just like it has helped me.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Testimonialist was compensated for their time.
Some people just know they can save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first at 888-ALLSTATE or allstate.com. Like you know to check your sunroof is closed first before driving through the car wash.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, no. Wait, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So if you want to save money, check Allstate first at 888-ALLSTATE or allstate.com. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
The NCAA Men's Frozen Four, the pinnacle of men's collegiate ice hockey. Any questions?
Professor, NCAA men's hockey is back. Are we ready?
You prepared to hype your squad for all 3 periods? Bring glory home to your campus? Oh, you're ready. It's Frozen Four time. The NCAA Men's Frozen Four, April 10th and 12th, 2025 in St. Louis. Buy your seats today at ncaa.com/Frozen4.
Welcome to the Conference Championship Week pregame show on Westwood One, sponsored by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app today and discover their new look, same game, parlay product, and more. BetMGM. Please gamble responsibly. Now, here's your host, Jason Horowitz.
Hey, folks, how are you? Happy to have you with us in our LA studios. The weekend lead-in to what will ultimately be a crazy Saturday. 12 automatic bids to this year's tournament earned tomorrow, 5 more on Sunday, and we'll have our field of 68 for this year's NCAA tournament. Big East semis comes up here in just about 12 minutes, and all 4 teams this year know that they're going to hear their names called on Sunday. That's somewhat of a theme around all of the big conferences as of right now. We'll get to Creighton and UConn later. Certainly the case with Marquette and St. John's. They both know they're going to be in the NCAA tournament. And man, what a year for the Red Storm. Regular season outright champs for the first time in 40 years. They're going to be in the field for just the 4th time in 23. And Rick Pitino has restored the Garden to glory. And his team took care of Butler yesterday by 21. But Pitino says they have more to give.
Well, basically, I told the guys that 5-plus performance is a Michael Jordan performance. And we were a 4-star tonight, which was good enough to win. Sometimes the team that plays a game has a little under their belt. It hurts them in the 3rd game, obviously. But we played good enough to win. We did a lot of things we need to get better at, but overall it was a 4-star performance, and we'll take it.
That reference to Butler playing the day before to get to that game yesterday in the quarterfinals. Pitino's team 17-1 since the calendar switched to 2025, including a pair of wins against Marquette, the last being a buzzer-beating floater in the lane 6 days ago. But Shaka Smart's team gets a 3rd chance at the regular season champs, and that thanks to a second-half comeback on Thursday. They trailed Xavier by 14 midway through the second half in a game that maybe Xavier needed to win to make the NCAA tournament. But Cam Jones, 28 points. He stormed Shaka Smart's squad to a chance to this evening's chance and a solid resume win.
When you play great teams, they present challenges. But as I tell these guys, we present challenges too. And, you know, St. John's has got a terrific coach, terrific roster. Those are the type of teams that you get to play against when you earn these opportunities in March. When we're connected and when we're truly focused on the present moment, it gives us a really good chance against, regardless of who the opponent is.
Marquette trying to make the Big East championship for a 3rd straight year. St. John's has not been since they won the whole thing back in 2000. It is the Red Storm and the Golden Eagles, and the tip coming your way in just about 10 minutes. Some of the other things, though, we're monitoring here in our studios. The ACC semifinals gets going in about a half hour. Duke and North Carolina. The Blue Devils playing without possible player of the year, Cooper Flagg, hurt his ankle yesterday, will not play the rest of the ACC tournament. North Carolina maybe has to win this game to get in the field. They are 1-11 in Quad 1 games. Top seed Houston, 4 seed BYU. The Big 12 semis gets going. Big 10 quarters, SEC quarters, all that stuff will keep posted throughout the course of the night. But when we return, back to Scott Graham, PJ Carlissimo for the keys to the Red Storm and the Golden Eagles. This is Westwood One's coverage of Conference Championship Week.
What's up, everybody? Nick Costos here telling you that BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, unleashes the spirit of Las Vegas with BetMGM rewards. Listen up now. This is awesome. Every time you make a wager at BetMGM, you can earn BetMGM rewards points that you can redeem for online bonus credits like bonus bets and bet insurance tokens. Planning a trip to Vegas? You should be. It's great. You can also convert your BetMGM points into MGM rewards points that you can use towards dining, shows, and hotel rooms at over 20 MGM Resorts properties located on the Las Vegas Strip and nationwide. Sign up with BetMGM or log on today to get an even bigger piece of the action with BetMGM rewards. Eligibility restrictions apply. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly and offer resources to help you make appropriate choices. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Must be 21 years of age or older to wager. New and existing customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days from issuance. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. The Settlement Specialist, LLC, is responsible for the content of this ad.
Attention former patients of Dr. Derek Todd, a rheumatologist at Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston. Dr. Todd is accused of assaulting over 200 patients and faces criminal charges. If you were a patient of Dr. Derek Todd at any time and were subjected to any sexual misconduct, you may be entitled to substantial cash compensation. Call our Dr. Todd Sexual Abuse Helpline now. Call 800-778-7290. Complaints against Dr. Todd include conducting unnecessary pelvic, breast, and rectal exams on both men and women for the purpose of sexually assaulting patients. If you were a patient of Dr. Derek Todd at any time and were subjected to any sexual misconduct, you may be entitled to substantial cash compensation. Call now to get the justice, closure, and the financial settlement you deserve. Call our Dr. Todd Sexual Abuse Helpline now at 800-778-7290. But the deadline to file a claim may be approaching. Call right now, 800-778-7290. 800-778-7290. 800-778-7290.
Welcome back to Madison Square Garden, semifinals night here in the Big East tournament, and it's time now for PJ Carlissimo's Keys to the Game, sponsored by Ethos Life. Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. For this Marquette-St. John's matchup, they saw each other 6 days ago, but what are the keys for Marquette to try to get into the win column against this St. John's team?
I'll tell you, that was a spectacular game, Scott. I mean, I hate the term instant classic. It's overused, but that was a classic. Amazing game. I think the keys are pretty straightforward. Marquette's got a defensive rebound. Every time people get ready to play St. John's, it's the first thing they talk about. It's arguably the best rebounding team in the country. Somehow, you got to keep them off the glass. A lot easier said than done. Marquette's going to need their threes. They had an 18-8 advantage in three-point field goals made. St. John's a not good three-point shooting team, so Marquette's going to need to put it in the bucket from downtown.
The other side, you got a St. John's team that's been almost flawless this year, playing on their home floor. Is it just a matter of riding the momentum? What do they have to do?
Well, I think they need to continue play the way they have, and they got to paint it red. The key. They've owned the key all year. We got three teams that predominant color tonight is blue, and then we got the Red Storm, and 82 paint points in 2 games against Marquette. They have just owned them as they've owned everybody inside. And specialty points is where they make a living. Second chance points, points in the paint, which we talked about, points off turnovers. They don't shoot it well. You watch them sometimes, you go, how do they win? They win because they outwork you and they get all those specialty points.
It is amazing that a team that misses as many shots as they do from the outside has only lost 4 games this year by a grand total of 7 points. This has been the Conference Championship Week on Westwood One pregame show, sponsored by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Download the app today and discover their new look same-day parlay product and more. Please gamble responsibly. Up next, the opening tip-off of the Big East semifinal game number 1. You're listening to Conference Championship Week on Westwood One.
I juggle a lot. And managing constipation with belly pain from my irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C, with laxatives and fiber isn't enough. My doctor recommended a way to get ahead of it. Then I said yes to Linzess. Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Talk to your doctor and learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LANZESS.
Okay, raise your hand if you want to make your life a little bit easier. Great. Now raise your other hand if you like to be comfortable. Perfect. Now that you have both hands raised, imagine putting on your shoes. And that, folks, right there is your answer to an easier, more comfortable life. Go hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. This is footwear you don't need your hands to put on. They can be raised in the air, and you can just step it and go. So you ask, how do hands-free Skechers Slip-ins work? Well, it's like they have this invisible built-in shoehorn so your foot slides into place. Then our heel pillow keeps your foot comfy and secure. And slip-ins are for the whole family, men, women, and kids, in all your favorite Skechers styles. From sneakers to casual shoes and even sandals. Yes, even sandals. So raise your hands in the air and put your shoes on like you just don't care. Because you just went hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. Why don't you experience what people can't stop talking about? Life-changing Skechers Slip-ins. Get your Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Welcome back to the world's most famous arena. And the unique ceiling changing colors as the starting lineups have been introduced out onto the floor. You've got that sizzle that comes only with Friday night in the doubleheader in the Big East tournament. I know that you know what that felt like.
I'll tell you what, it was my favorite week of the year. I thought it was the best possible preparation for our Seton Hall teams to get ready for the NCAA tournament. And it is the most famous arena in the world. It's special. We just did a game about 3 weeks ago. LeBron James came in. It's the same for LeBron James. Doesn't matter how many times you play here, it's special. Everybody wants to play in this building. It's always interesting to watch the freshmen or nowadays the most recent transfers play for the first time in Madison Square Garden.
Well, there is no doubt that the building has a palpable feel to it here tonight as we get ready for this doubleheader. Take a look at the starting lineups for these two teams. For Marquette, the number 5 seed, coming in at 23-9 on the year. They are led by Cam Jones, first team All Big East player, senior out of Memphis, averaging 19 points, 4.5 boards, and 6 assists per game. He had 32 the second time these two teams played earlier in the season. Chase Ross is a junior, 6'5", 210 out of Dallas, averaging 10.5 points and almost 4 boards per game. Stevie Mitchell, watch your wallet if he's around. Yesterday ended up with 5 steals in that game in Marquette's victory over Xavier. The senior, 6'3", 200 out of Reading, Pennsylvania, also averaging 11 points and 4 rebounds. Ben Gold, a junior from New Zealand, 6'11", 235, averages 7.5 points and 4 boards. And David Joplin, All Big East third team. What is he doing now? Well, he's just continuing an unbelievable run here at Marquette. Tonight will be his 138th game. He's got a chance now. He just keeps it going for a couple more to pass Lazar Hayward for the most games ever played in a Marquette uniform. Head coach is Shaka Smart, 4th season, 98 wins here, 370 in his coaching career. For the Red Storm of St. John's, 28-4 on the year. It looks this way. Aaron Scott, senior out of Spring, Texas, 8 points and 4 boards per game. Kadari Richmond, All Big East second team. He's a threat for a triple-double, 12.5 points and 6 rebounds. Senior Davon Smith, out of Decatur, Georgia, 6', 175, averages nearly 10 points and 5 rebounds per game. R.J. Lewis is the Big East Player of the Year, their first since Walter Berry back in 1986. He averaged 18 points on the season with 7 rebounds. And Zuby Ejiofor, talk about an out-of-nowhere superstar in the Big East this season. He has become a dominant player, the most improved player in the Big East, averaging 14 points and 8 rebounds per game. The head coach is the legend Rick Pitino, now the 7th winningest college coach of all time. He just recently ended up blowing right on by Adolph Rupp and Dean Smith to get to that spot.
Pretty good year.
Marquette wearing the traveling dark blue, same uniforms they wore yesterday with gold and light blue trim. St. John's in the home white with the red numbers and red lettering. We are ready to go, and it's been a long time for St. John's to be in this situation. And now they've got to get past the Golden Eagles team that I know history, long time in the rearview mirror right now, PJ, but they have never beaten Marquette in this venue, in this event. 0-6 against Marquette all time in the Big East tournament.
Well, I'll tell you what, this St. John's team is ready for any challenge. And it's funny, we were talking about how special it is to play in the Garden. A lot of people don't remember the first 3 Big East tournaments were not held in Madison Square Garden. We had one in Hartford, one in Providence, and one in Syracuse. And I was fortunate enough to get the Seton Hall job and play the very first year they moved this tournament to Madison Square Garden. We weren't exactly ready for prime time then. But we grew as the tournament did, and it was fantastic. I still remember the picture, taking a picture with all the coaches and the athletic director standing outside the Garden sign on 7th Avenue with Dave Gavitt. That was the initial year of the Big East tournament in Madison Square Garden.
And it has been here ever since. The officials tonight, Pat Driscoll, Mike Roberts, and Brett Hampton. We are ready to go. The St. John's team, as you pointed out, hasn't lost a game in this building this year. Undefeated at Madison Square Garden, 10-0. And the amazing part about that was not just the victories, but the fact that this building was sold out for regular season games for St. John's.
And I should point out, still, it's an advantage. There's no question St. John's is the home team. But you don't have the fans that you had in the regular season. You split the tickets up among the 11 schools. So it's not the dominant everybody wearing red in the building that you had for those 10 regular season games. It's not a road game for St. John's, but it's not nearly as intimidating, and the crowd is not going to be the factor they were in the regular season.
Rick Pitino has talked so much about the fact that what they did in the regular season doesn't matter anymore. Talking about 27 wins, just 4 losses on the season. He said that didn't matter. It was about figuring out a way to get postseason tough. Yesterday, as we said, against Butler, not that tough for their opening round. You would assume that this Marquette team might put up a little bit more of a fight.
Without question. But again, St. John's hasn't figured out. They've won 17 of the last 18, 7 in a row. So they're tough right now for the NCAA.
Ben Gold wins the tip. Marquette going from our left to our right. In the dark blue, passing it around the outside. Mitchell holds 23 from the hoop on the right side. Working his way in, backing out again. Looking toward the top. Gets it to Joplin. Hit the first shot yesterday. Now drives underneath. Throws all the way back to the top. Cam Jones tries a 3 from the left side. No good. Tap rebound by Gold. Goes out of bounds. And it goes back over to St. John's.
Watching the battle on the boards will probably determine the outcome of this game more than any other single thing. And the fact that these two teams are so exceptional with the pressure they put on the ball. This could be a turnover game.
We got a switch at the starting lineup. Simeon Wilcher starting for Davon Smith for St. John's. And now a long 3 for Aaron Scott misses. And the rebound taken down by Marquette as Mitchell trots it into the forecourt.
Yeah, Davon spent most of the shoot around today with a pad on his shoulder. He didn't start yesterday, though. He'll be in and he will play quality minutes.
Here's Jones to the right elbow. Picks up the dribble. Picked up there by Lewis. Now back out to the top. Ross will drive right side, and he has his pocket picked by Wilcher. Wilcher into the forecourt, but he doesn't have the numbers, and he backs it out again. Off to Richmond up top of the circle. Now Lewis drive right to the elbow on the right side, and he has his pocket pick. Ross with the steal, driving, tries the alley-oop for Gold. It's knocked away. But the ball down to the hands of David Joplin, who banks it home. Wild sequence for the first points of the game.
Aaron Scott did a good job hustling back on defense for the Red Storm, but Marquette just outnumbered them.
Ejiofor holds right side. Cross-court skip pass for Wilcher. Now back up to the top again for Lewis. And now a whistle off the ball. They're going to be a call on Ben Gold, who is really fighting for position right around the foul line with Zuby Ejiofor. Ben Gold will get called for his first and the team's first.
Well, the way the game is officiated is going to be a major factor in this game. Now, you would hope with this veteran crew that they're going to let these guys play, because both of these teams really are physical, aggressive defensive teams.
Richmond tries to key the inbound, gets it into Ejiofor, who returns it back to Kadari Richmond left side. Now a double on him as he picks up his dribble, throws back into the lane. Catch and shoot for Lewis. Shot no good from the foul line. And a rebound down to Mitchell for Marquette.
Marquette doing a nice job boxing out.
Stevie Mitchell with the dribble. 22 from the hoop. Driving into the lane from the right side. Spins, lost the ball. It's knocked away and picked up off the floor by Ejiofor. A St. John steal. Up ahead, here's Lewis driving right baseline. Backing in. Shot no good. Tip follow won't go. And the rebound tapped all the way out to Richmond and a new shot clock. Richmond driving. Foul line. Pull-up jumper. That shot's no good. And Marquette fights over the rebound as Ross comes down with it for the Golden Eagles.
Typical St. John possession, multiple shots.
Long three-pointer for Joplin right in front of the St. John's bench is no good. Rebound tapped out of bounds, and they say it last touched the foot of Kadari Richmond. So the ball goes back to Marquette as they'll inbound underneath the basket.
Well, you talked about Stevie Mitchell, how good he is with creating the steals. He also does the same thing on the offensive glass for Marquette. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He's all over the place, getting his hand on the ball all the time.
Inbound to Jones. Three-pointer from the right is good, and Marquette's got a 5-0 lead now. A little bit better than 2.5 minutes in.
Three-point shooting is going to be a big key. We talked about that as one of the keys for the Golden Eagles.
St. John's running their set. Ejiofor driving, spinning in the lane, and his shot is good. Just too big, too strong, and too fast for Ben Gold.
Incredible improvement. I mean, such a deserving winner of the Big East Most Improved Player, Zuby Ejiofor.
Jones nails another three, this time from the Madison Square Garden logo on the right side, and it's 8-2 Marquette. Cam Jones has been marvelous. Here's Wilcher, left side, catch and shoot three. He buries it from the left corner.
Very, very good news for the Red Storm when their threes fall.
8-5, Marquette by 3, and right back down again. Here comes Marquette with Jones spinning into the lane. Use the offhand, the right hand, and banks it home on a pretty move in the lane. And now a steal. Ross catches the outlet pass. Marquette bringing it down 3-on-2. It's Jones, 1-on-3. Hits the basket with a circus play and stretches the lead to 12-5 for Marquette.
Marquette's defense forcing the turnovers early.
Richmond brings it down, and now St. John's will try a three. Scott missing with an air ball from the left, and the rebound ripped off the floor by Gold. Here comes Marquette with the advantage. Mitchell, right side, take a three, drive into the lane, and he is thrown to the ground by Wilcher. Wilcher took some of the heat on that shot as well as the two collided in midair. It's going to bring us to a timeout on the floor.
Yeah, Rick Pitino waited for the immediate timeout. He is not happy at all with the way this game has started.
Timeout on the floor, 15:47 to go, first half of play. Our score, Marquette 12, St. John's 5. This is Westwood One's coverage of Conference Championship Week.
What's up, everybody? Nick Costos here telling you that BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, unleashes the spirit of Las Vegas with BetMGM rewards. Listen up now. This is awesome. Every time you make a wager at BetMGM, you can earn BetMGM rewards points that you can redeem for online bonus credits like bonus bets and bet insurance tokens. Planning a trip to Vegas? You should be. It's great. You can also convert your BetMGM points into MGM rewards points that you can use towards dining, shows, and hotel rooms at over 20 MGM Resorts properties located on the Las Vegas Strip and nationwide. Sign up with BetMGM or log on today to get an even bigger piece of the action with BetMGM rewards. Eligibility restrictions apply. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly and offer resources to help you make appropriate choices. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Must be 21 years of age or older to wager. New and existing customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days from issuance. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
What would you do if you could go back in time with the tap of a button?
Watch the ancient Egyptians build the pyramids?
How'd they do it?
Buy enough Bitcoin to purchase your very own private island.
Or maybe just skip the joke that flopped at the holiday party.
Unfortunately, we haven't figured out how to rewind time. But you can rewind live shows with the free Odyssey app.
Never miss your favorite sports talk again. To get started, download Odyssey and search for your station.
Probably bothers me the most is when waiters talk to my companion and not directly to me.
I think everyone with a disability can relate to that parking spot problem.
We know you're just parking in a disabled spot for a second, but please, don't. We're just looking for the same respect and consideration as everyone else.
United Spinal Association is dedicated to enhancing the quality of life of people living with spinal cord injuries and disorders. Download our disability etiquette booklet at unitedspinal.org.
Scott Graham, PJ Carlissimo here at our Grainger broadcast position at Madison Square Garden. For the ones who get it done, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade products for all industries, fast delivery, and free technical support. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Just over 4 minutes in, 15:47 to go first half. Marquette up by a 12-5 score, and PJ, in the middle of the Marquette huddle to our left, they've got a whiteboard with a number. The number is 5, and above it says deflections. That's something that Shaka Smart emphasizes. The goal is to get 32 per game, and then they're playing defense the way he wants to. 5 in 4 minutes is a very good start.
No, he loves the way it started. Both of these teams are big deflection teams, and if you looked at the stat sheet without realizing which team was on top of the column, you would have thought it was St. John's. Turnovers, points off turnovers, 4-zip, Marquette. Points in the paint, 6-2, Marquette. Second chance points, 3-0, Marquette. Those are all the specialty points that St. John's makes a living with, but Marquette has been the more aggressive team. Those deflections reflect that, the turnovers, and they've scored off the turnovers, and they're also out hustling them on the glass.
St. John's also missed their first 5 shots from the floor. So now Stevie Mitchell, who got fouled right before we went to break, will go to the line to shoot 2. First one on the way. It's around and good. Mitchell, 16 points and 5 steals yesterday. He's a 73% shooter from the line.
He's also the Big East Scholar athlete, a great student, just a great young man, and an excellent player. You mentioned St. John's missed their first 5 shots. How about Marquette starts 5 for 7 from the field? So Shaka Smart could not have scripted it any better.
Mitchell hit the second, comes out of the game, replaced by Zayd Lowry. And here comes St. John's, now down by 9. Richmond across half court into the hands of Wiltshire. Now up top, Ejiofor. Ejiofor, head of the circle, looking for a back cut. Nothing there. Finds Wiltshire on the left side. Coming around a screen, around the top of the circle. Now cross over the dribble. Takes into the lane. Jump stop. Throw back to the top. Richmond weaves into the lane. Jump stop and lays it home. He got his man in the air and an easy 2.
Got a bigger, stronger guard, better at attacking the rim than Kadari Richmond.
14-7. Marquette by 7. Here once again is Jones, who started this game hot. The left-hander driving from the right side into the lane. Nothing there. Now tries to pick up the dribble. Down to 8 on the timer as he shovels behind for Joplin, a 3. And he barely caught rim as the ball falls into the hands of Kadari Richmond. Down at the other end, ball knocked away. They were trying to get it into Ejiofor. And a last line of defense was Royce Parham, the freshman, who knocked it away. St. John's will keep it.
All Big East freshman Royce Parham, and that's another deflection, by the way, for Shaka Smart's crew.